What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers tonight lost a heartbreaker against the Minnesota Timberwolves, 109 to 107. Anthony Simons' game-winning three was off the mark in the final seconds after D'Angelo Russell scores a go-ahead lay-in with 2.9 seconds left. We'll discuss the final defensive play, the final offensive play, and we'll discuss this game with you guys. Krish will not be here tonight, so graphics are going to be light. We're not going to go through individual players. We're just going to talk about the game, then we'll go into our Twitter space, then we'll talk about trades, and that's going to be tonight's post-game stream. Eric, we've been winning a lot of games lately, so I don't know how your feelings are about losing a game like this. How does this feel?
I don't know. I feel like we're not going to lose enough games to tank, so we might as well win as many games as possible. So I was kind of excited to win this game, and then I felt like we just did all the things that had got us into trouble earlier in the season in the second half of this one, and it came back to bite us in the end.
Yeah, we'll discuss exactly what went wrong for the Portland Trailblazers, as they did have a 13-point lead at one point in this battle.
How about you?
I mean, I don't know. I wanted them to win that game, like a Simons buzzer beater would have been cool, but I'm not really upset about losing this game, if you know what I mean. If this happened in November, I would have been really upset with the way we lost this game, but at this point, the season's just in a really weird spot right now, and I'm just waiting for the trade deadline. So I did drop a trade deadline-oriented video earlier today, so after this stream, definitely go check it out. And shout out Jared for his 6th month member message. He says, I think this game just showed the direction we need to go in. Then again, Wolves are pretty nice. 2 weeks until the trade deadline. Appreciate it, Jared. Yeah, this game showed we struggled in this game with things we struggled with in the Toronto game. This game kind of matched up with the Toronto game. We obviously didn't get out to as big of a lead, but just kind of the ebb and flow of this game was actually somewhat similar outside of the first quarter to me, where we kind of struggled in the second half with pressure basketball, pressure defense. We did not have a good setup against it, and it caused our downfall, in my opinion. So we'll talk about that.
It's been causing our downfall for years.
Yeah. So, this game sucks to lose, I guess, but I don't know. I'm not upset about it. Don't really know what our direction is this season. Reportedly, Portland isn't set on contending this year. They're set on contending next year. So, it could be a trade deadline where we sell a bunch of players and we truly do tank, or maybe we try and upgrade our players and go for a play-in run. I just have no idea what this team's end goal is this season, so I don't know how to feel about a loss like this. But it was a little bit disheartening to see us struggle in the same way, Eric. I think really the biggest issue in this game was we struggled to break their pressure. They started pressuring us in the second half. We had numerous turnovers, struggled to get quality shots against it, and it was reminiscent of the game prior against Toronto. So what do you think about that? Do you think that was the reason for our downfall, and why do you think we struggled so much with it?
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm playing the Blazers right now, I am absolutely sending a double team and pressuring Anthony Simons until we learn to deal with that pressure. So I think until we somehow react to that or realize that if a lengthy team like Minnesota, who's got basically Jared Vanderbilt, who's 6'8" and very athletic and long, guarding Anthony Simons, Jaden McDaniels started the game on him. Who's also about that same height and very lengthy. And then you come with a double team with like a Cat or an Ant or someone like that. And unfortunately, Simons just isn't able to deal with that pressure right now. So I would absolutely do that if I was an opposing team right now until Portland counteracts that. And I feel like we're just playing right into those traps for the most part, and it's the same thing that happened with Dame in playoff series and stuff like that. And until we figure out how to beat those traps, it's going to be a struggle. And not only that, but we gave up a bunch of easy baskets on the other end because of them getting transition steals and stuff.
Yeah, and people were criticizing Simons' ball handling, and he's still a little bit too loose in certain situations. Sometimes it doesn't matter. In certain situations, he is a little bit too loose with his dribble, but I don't think that's really the primary reason why we struggled with it. We've seen Dame. I mean, look at the New Orleans Pelicans dealing with traps and struggling with it, even though he's a really good ball handler and really explosive, and Damian freaking Lillard. So I thought the floor setup, for the most part, against the trap was really bad today, and I understand it against Toronto, who's really good at pressuring and something we don't deal with much, but after that game, to still not have an answer the game after that for that same thing, pressure defense, is disappointing. The most disappointing part of this game for me, we tried to break it with the dribble, and there are guys in the NBA who could break pressure with the dribble, but if you pass the ball, set up guys in the right spots and move the ball to beat the press, you can get good shots, you can get good looks, and we just didn't do that in this game. So that was disappointing for me. I don't know. That's really, it's kind of hard to explain what we did wrong in terms of the floor setup. I don't know if you have that in a breakdown.
No, I don't have that. But basically, we just let Ant dribble right into it, and we didn't really. It seems like we're always surprised by it, which always takes me aback, and that's the problem. You have to expect it, especially right now with the success that teams have been having in the second halves of games. We almost blow a 30-plus lead to Toronto because of their pressure. You have to know we get up 13, they're going to start pressuring, especially Anthony Simons. And, he's going to get scouted. And until we have I don't know, especially with CJ in the game, you should be able to do some things with him, like CJ with the ball instead of Ant, and running Ant a little bit off ball. And this is what we talk about with Dame all the time. Like, if they're going to trap Ant, get it to someone who they won't trap, but that's okay and capable of handling the ball. I mean, I'm even fine with giving it to Nurk around half court and letting him just back down and initiate the offense from the high post, because he's not going to lose the ball off the dribble or anything like that. And they're not going to double team him because they'll just pass over the top of it. So you just got to do something different. And unfortunately, we have a power forward who can't really handle the ball and who made a lot of mistakes as well when we did break the trap. So, I just thought it was a combination of a lot of things.
Yeah. Something that the Blazers have to work on for the future for sure. But let's talk about crunch time, okay? Before we do that, Jackson, 13th month member message, says this gold looks pretty nice, 1 year on the dot. So appreciate you, Jackson. He's now been a member for a year. He gets the gold icon next to his name now. So appreciate you, Jackson. Crunch time, Eric. And this kind of coincides with one of your breakdowns. So I guess I will segue this to that part. Was that your second play?
Yeah, it's my second play is the very last play.
Yeah, so I'll do your second play first when we get there. But you have CJ McCollum down 3. CJ McCollum struggled in this game, did not shoot the ball well. I don't think he forced too much. And as far as, he ISO'd a bit, but multiple times I heard Chauncey calling for him to ISO, so I can't really blame him for that. We'll talk more about kind of the style in which CJ played in this game, but, despite him struggling, he comes down with 16 seconds left and buries a pull-up 3 that was a few feet behind the three-point line, a clutch shot to tie the game. Then next possession down, Chauncey Billups, and I want to get your take on this. He has Anthony Simons on D'Angelo Russell. And Anthony Simons did not do a good job defending D'Angelo Russell on that final play of the game. D'Angelo Russell drove right by him. Anthony Simons tried to block a shot. It was a goaltending because the ball hit glass first, and the Timberwolves went up by 2 with 2.9 seconds left in the game. Now, in previous years, we've talked about Terry Stotts having Dame and CJ in the game on final defensive possessions instead of the best defensive lineup. In this situation, I don't believe I don't believe Dennis Smith Jr. was on the floor for that possession, which makes no sense because he's a better defensive player than Anthony Simons at this point. Anthony's made progress, but to have Anthony on D'Angelo Russell there, I think was the mistake on that possession, and they took advantage of it.
Yeah, and at the top of the key, there was like almost a switch between him and Nas, and I almost wish they did switch on that one. But he did bring Nas in for Nurk, I guess, which is good. But then we didn't have any rim protection. Um, but yeah, so D'Angelo Russell's left-handed. He's going left. If anything, you want to force him back into the paint where you have defenders to help you. So I feel like I don't know if it was necessarily the wrong idea to have Ant do that, but he definitely messed up by letting him go get to his left hand and shoot with his left and get a little separation there.
Yeah, and you definitely don't want to force him away from the help. The majority of the help was kind of towards the middle or the other side of the court. I think Simon should have forced him middle because he would have had Rocco there to help. Russell would have been driving into his teammates and going with his weak hand. So that was really the mistake there. You just got to know the game plan, and that's something that should have been communicated to Ant in
There
the
was a timeout, yep.
Yeah, so that's something that you got to communicate to players, and maybe they did, and he just failed to execute it defensively. But in that situation, you force middle, especially if it's forcing D'Angelo Russell to his right hand.
Honestly, I don't mind Ant in the game. I feel like he's been playing decent defensively. But yeah, I just gotta play the scouting report though. You gotta know what to do in that situation if you are in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Blazers had a chance to win the game. Okay, despite how much they struggled, they were on a 10-1 run late in that game before that final Minnesota bucket. So they had made plays to kind of claw their way back into this thing.
Well, I think we were up 13 at one point, and then we were down 9 with like 2 minutes left or something, and made a game of it. But
yeah. So final play though. All right, this is going to be the breakdown for today. We haven't done these in a couple streams, so glad to get back to them. Eric, I have it up on the screen now. Final possession. So explain this play.
all right, so they're gonna run. They start off in kind of a diamond formation, and CJ is gonna run through to kind of gauge who's going with who, if they're switching or what. And so Ant's going to set, CJ's going to clear. Ant's going to set a back pick for Powell, which I think is just a decoy because Powell is kind of open on this.
Mm-hmm.
And then McDaniels has to like kind of come off of Norm for a minute, or come off and tag Norm here. So you see him kind of sag off, and then Nurk's going to curl around and set a screen. And in the third slide, you see Anthony's wide open. He gets separation based on the screen he sets, and then Nurk's screen. So a good pass here. Ant catches it like in his chest, and then steps into it cleanly. But instead, he has to reach out his hand and grab the ball way away from him. Is kind of off balance and never really gets in rhythm. And by the time he catches the ball and gathers, in the final slide, his man is already caught back up to him, and he has to shoot a contested three, not really in rhythm. And I felt like the pass, if it's just right on the mark, he catches it and maybe shoots it with a couple feet of space, in even deeper one. He probably doesn't even dribble, and probably gets a much cleaner look at it.
Yeah, I will say this. Part of this is actually on Ant, now that I look at it look back at it. I don't know why Ant ran so far towards half court in this situation. Because he could have kind of curled it along the 3-point line and probably been in better position for a shot and to receive the pass. In this situation, I think Rocco can get the ball to Simons on the money, but it is a little bit harder. He kind of has to reach around Vanderbilt there. Vanderbilt's kind of doing a good job being in between Simons and Rocco in that situation. So I don't know if Rocco like telegraphed where he was looking with the ball.
He did telegraph. I think that was the problem. Yeah,
because
Vanderbilt overplays to the left. If he's see, you can see in that slide before, he's looking over his shoulder like to that side of the court. You have to like look it off, you know.
Yeah. He should have been looking at CJ, pump fake to pass it. CJ gotten Vanderbilt to slide that way, then he could pass it to Simons. You know, is basic basketball play here. I don't know why Rocco was the one throwing the inbounds pass. He's not.
I don't know why it's in the game.
Yeah, he's not an exceptional passer. This probably should have been Dennis Smith Jr. because it's not like you really have time to get the ball back to the inbounder with less than 3 seconds. So it's a situation where if this is Dennis Smith Jr. inbounding it and gets it to Simons, I mean, maybe you have time to run him off CJ for a lob. So I think it was maybe Rocco because he's a shooter. And therefore, the guy guarding Rocco, the guy guarding the inbounder, couldn't just leave to double on Simons when Simons got the ball. I assume that's why Rocco was the guy passing the ball in, but Rocco wasn't shooting well anyways, you know what I mean? Rocco had a tough shooting night, so I don't understand why Rocco was the one throwing the inbounds pass. That matters in a tight game, and he didn't do a good job of making this inbounds pass because Simons could have gotten a solid shot off. He had space. This was actually a well-executed play from the other 4 guys on the court, except for Simons maybe pushing too far up to half court, but the pass is so far in front of Simons. At this point, Simons wasn't running towards the ball. I know it kind of looks like it, but he wasn't running towards the ball. And if you guys watched the game, you guys saw the final play, like Simon struggled to catch it, and that's the only reason why he wasn't able to get off a good look in this situation. I wish Ant drove here, to be honest, because he still had 2.4 seconds left. He could have drove and gotten to a float game, tied the game up, but just a poorly executed pass, and Simons could have made it a little bit easier.
I don't mind them going for the 3, but here's what should have happened. If you go back to the slide before this, with how far Vanderbilt was overplaying to that side and how tough of a pass that was for Rocco, he should have thrown it to CJ, and CJ could have thrown it back to Ant curling around, and then Ant would have caught it back in rhythm as well. So he probably could have done that, and there was, like you said, there was more than enough time to do some sort of action and pass one time. So
like Ant could have ran towards CJ and caught it off a handoff for 3.
Ant could have just kept curling, and then CJ could have just touch passed it right to him. Ant would have caught it in rhythm,
that could have been a good play here, and that's why you just need a guy inbounding the ball that's just a smart passer that can kind of make this read. But just passing it to Simons, just pass it to him. Like, you gotta get it to him. You gotta wrap it around Vanderbilt here, and that was a poorly executed pass by Rocco for sure. So anyway, that was play number 1. Let me get play number 2 in here. Give me like 10 to 15 seconds.
Andrew says if CJ catches it, he's shooting it, but not necessarily in that position. He has no real shot. And if he sees Ant curling around, I mean, CJ wasn't like ball hogging much in this game, so I don't know.
Didn't CJ pass the ball to Ant for a clutch shot recently?
Yeah, the Boston game where Ant missed the floater and got the rebound. Yeah. So CJ had the ball and gave it up. Yep. Yeah,
in a very similar situation. So CJ wouldn't automatically shoot that, in my opinion. I think CJ's done a solid job of kind of playing within the flow of things. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's move to your other play, Eric. What do we have here? 9:54 left in the second quarter.
So I thought for the most part we did a really, really good job moving the ball and moving around in the first half. And so we had 18 assists in the first half, which I thought was great. We probably should have had over 20. We missed a lot of open threes off good ball movement. But this is an example of a play where we have absolutely nothing going on and why spontaneous movement is so important. So we have 19 seconds on the shot clock here. Dennis Smith Jr. is going to dribble around. We go to the next slide. Nothing's happening still. CJ is going to go set a pick for him. Nothing really changes. Down to like 10 seconds at one point, and there's still nothing going on. Everyone's standing around, right? Mm-hmm. And then Dennis Smith gets into the paint, drives in. At this point, he has nowhere to go. Like, he can shoot, but there's a shot blocker coming over to get him. He has no real angle to kick out to anyone for a three at this point. And so Rocco, this is probably his best play of the game, decides to cut here, and thankfully he did, because that was basically his only option. Probably would have been a turnover if he didn't. And so on the next slide, Rocco, Dennis Smith Jr. finds him, and Rocco gets a lay-in. simply because we had nothing going on and he just made a decision to cut instead of stand at the 3-point line. And
Yep.
this is an example of spontaneous movement, just cut and good things happen. And I will say Nas did a great job of this game. He was fantastic cutting. And it didn't necessarily lead to him scoring a lot, but it led to the defense having to account for it and led to an open shot off some passes to the weak side or to skip passes and stuff like that. So this is just an example of one simple cut out of a play that was not working. We had no set, we had nothing going on, and Rocco cuts and it saves the play and we get a lane.
Yeah.
And he actually made this one. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about another one of his. In this situation, it's just if you don't see the defender's eyes, you look at number 5 Malik Beasley and number 11 Naz Reid. They're not looking at Rocco. They're watching the ball, so they're not going to they're not going to step in front of him. They're not going to see Rocco cutting. So that's what you have to look for if you're in Rocco's situation, and even McLemore's situation, because McLemore could have cut and maybe gotten a layup as well, because both off-ball defenders are just ball watching. That's the best time to cut in that situation, and Rocco does, and they aren't ready for it. They don't see it coming. So that's what you have to do as an off-ball guy in that situation is notice if the defenders in your area are watching the ball and not paying attention to you. That's when you cut. And yeah, good cut by Rocco.
Yep.
Anyway, good breakdowns. So that was a good Rocco lay-in, Eric. I forgot to mention this as part of the crunch time analysis. He just absolutely smoked a layup.
Yeah.
Bricked, dude, like West Brick-esque on a layup. Didn't hit rim. It was a dump-off pass from Simons I think it was in the final minutes. And the dude didn't hit rim. I don't know why he struggles so much with certain finishes, but whenever he gets the ball and he's like 3-4 feet away from the rim and he tries to he can't get all the way to the backboard and he tries to just make a layup like that, I've seen it too much, just throws it off the backboard. It doesn't hit rim, and I don't know why. It's like he rushes it. That play was frustrating. Rocco has to finish that, and he didn't even come close.
His threes weren't close either. It was frustrating.
Yeah, he was shooting the ball weird. His wrist, there's something he was doing with his follow through, the snap of his wrist was weird.
Yeah. There's some talk in chat about whether we're too hard on Robert Covington or not. But let me just go through. So he was 3 for 11 tonight, right? 0 for 3 from 3. The previous, this is his last 6 games. 3 for 10, 1 for 3, 3 for 10, 3 for 10, 5 of 13, 4 for 10. He has not been playing good. He has not been shooting well. He's putting up, those counting stats on defense and stuff. But that's why we're hard on him, is because you can't shoot this poorly every game, and it's not like he's getting terrible shots or whatever. It's like he had pretty good looks this game. I don't know, but you can't shoot that poorly, and it's not. Our guard shot terrible tonight too. I think if you combine everyone, or if you combine our guards and Rocco in the starting lineup, are 13 of 44 or something from the field, which is just terrible.
Yeah.
But Rocco's gotta give us something, man. He's gotta give us something.
Yeah, and I mean, we just showed a positive play of him cutting and whatnot. It's just he's 3 for 8 inside the arc, but he'll miss some layups that just have you scratching your head, man. He is the worst finisher on the team by far. And
2 out of his 3 makes. There was one that the ball got bounced around and it just happened to come to him, and then he spun back towards the middle and the defense all went outside, so he had an open lay-in and he made it. And then the other shot he made was he got rejected on an open lay-in and took too long to shoot it and got rejected, and then it just happened to bounce right back to him and he quick went up and made it. But those are 2 more lucky than good, I think.
Yeah. So he struggles to finish. He's not hitting threes well right now. I mean, he got beat off the dribble by Taurean Prince. It didn't result in a make because Taurean Prince sucks. He had 0 points in 27 minutes. He put on his best Tony Snell impersonation tonight, but he got beat off the dribble by Taurean Prince. So there's still situations where defensively I think he's a little lackluster. He's been improving, but you look at our starting lineup. He plays 37 minutes. We get outscored by 12 points. Everybody else in the starting lineup was a positive. Nas was a plus 13. Nurkic was a plus 9. CJ was a plus 2. Simons was a plus 4. So obviously, and using plus minus to gauge individual performances is a little bit messy, but when the other 5 starters play pretty heavy minutes as well and they're all positives and you're a negative 12, that's kind of a red flag to me. He has to finish, man, because there's situations where he'll get opportunities to finish inside and he blows them, and it's like Ant drives, final minute, Ant drives, draws multiple defenders, has a great dump-off pass to Rocco, right? And Rocco does not make the defense pay for just loading up on an Anthony Simons drive. You got to make defenses pay for loading up on your best players. You got to make defenses pay for helping onto your guards when they drive. And when your guard makes a great pass to you, you can't just brick a freaking layup off the backboard like that. It's not excusable for an NBA player to do that. I'm cool. Like, if CJ gets good 3-point shots and just has a bad shooting night, that's okay. That's different than being 3 feet away and not even being able to hit rim on a layup. Okay, and he has that happen way too much. So that's I think fair to criticize Robert Covington for. I don't think that's being too hard on him at all.
Yeah, and on that play, I wish Ant would have seen Norm on like a wraparound pass. Nurk on a wraparound pass, because Nurk was also open on the other side, and I'm sure he probably would have dunked it or finished it because he had no one in front of him. Whereas Rocco did have a defender between him and the basket, but still he got a clean look and he just threw it so hard off the backboard. I don't understand why he did that.
Yeah,
just no touch.
Yeah. Yeah. So, who else do you want to talk about? We don't have player cards today, but I don't know. We'll just kind of skim through some players that you want to talk about here. Who do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about Ant.
Okay. So what did you think of Ant? We talked about him breaking the pressure. He was 5 for 18 from the field, 4 for 13 from 3, 7 assists, 6 turnovers. Not his best game. It was a struggle for him tonight. Yeah,
this is probably not a good matchup for him. Because D'Angelo Russell is pretty crafty and stuff. And then, like I said, they put a lot of their bigger defenders on him. I thought he did well when he tried to break down the defense. It was just, I thought most of his mistakes were making quick or not well thought out decisions, like bringing the ball across half court. There was a couple passes he tried to throw across court that Ant was sitting on for steals, and those times he got double teamed. He's just getting too he's going too quick to try and get out of it, and I think it's making him make mistakes too easily. But I didn't feel like him, or I'll put CJ in the same category. I didn't feel like either of them took terrible shots in this game. I don't feel like they really forced a lot. I felt like a lot of Ant's shots were pretty good looks. He just had a bad game. Yeah. I mean, he's not going to have a great game every game, which I know is not in-depth analysis or anything, but he's going to have games where he struggles. He got some clean looks. CJ McCollum got him multiple open catch-and-shoot 3-point jump shots, right? And everybody wants to criticize CJ. Oh, when he's not making shots, he never helps the team. Having a guy like CJ next to him has been able to generate him some cleaner 3-point shots than he otherwise would get. It was just a night in which his shot wasn't falling. It wasn't like he was missing by much. He missed a couple just back rim, a couple in and out. So that's just variance that comes with the game for him. The 6 turnovers was tough, but there was a couple situations he's just trying to break the press off the dribble because we don't have good passing options for him, and it results in some trouble, results in a turnover. So, he has to try and tighten up his handle a little bit for sure, but he also could have a little bit more help if we set the floor up better dealing with the press. Well, I mean, people in chat are mentioning Jared Vanderbilt. So this is why, if you saw Tori's video earlier, we need a player like that. We need a Herb Jones type. We need a Jared Vanderbilt type, Because how great of a weapon is it to have your starting power forward be able to stop someone like Anthony Simons from
Hmm.
getting going and pressure him and force him into a bunch of turnovers and stuff like that? Like that's a luxury that the Blazers have not had. Our starting power forward lets guys go by him and he tries to swipe and get steals and chases steals and stuff. So, um, like this is why we want to go after those type of players. We need a young athletic wing that's going to be able to stop 1 through 4 on another team most nights. And yeah, Anthony could have still hit some shots and had a good game, but like those players create havoc on offenses, and he especially did that for Anthony Simons tonight. And I just want the Blazers to focus on getting that type of player in any trade they get. That's going to be the key for them moving forward in the next couple seasons, is identifying one of those players and going out and using the players and pieces you have to getting that guy. And I think that's the most important step right now.
Yep, agreed. Let's talk about Nassir Little next. 7 for 11 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, 2 for 3 from the free throw line. Phenomenal offensive game for him. He has 2 assists as well in
Hopefully he's
29
okay.
minutes. I mean, he returned to the game for a
I think
defensive
he's okay.
possession.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a stinger, right? I think it was a stinger, which hurts like heck, and you could tell he was in pain. But if he returns to the game, he didn't have a dislocated shoulder or anything, so no worries there. It's not a Zach Collins situation, thank goodness. He just went down, landed pretty hard on his shoulder, so he might miss the next game or a couple games. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the lineup tomorrow. If it's just a stinger, if it's something that he can play through. So his shot looked really good, man. 4 for 6 from 3. He baked one of them in, so he missed one so terribly
Yeah.
he made it.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
3 for 6 from 3 is good too. I'll take it. Can't really complain about that. And then 7 for 11 from the field. There was a few different times where he cut and got a shot inside. I think he had a bucket in transition as well. He played off Nurkic. There was a sequence where Nurkic had an assist to him, and then he and Nurk ran the floor with somebody else, I forget who, and he had a little dump off pass to Nurkic for a
It
dunk.
was Norm, I think.
Yeah, it was Norm. So, it was a good game from him. Good to see him play well offensively. I feel like we win this game if he doesn't end up getting that shoulder stinger there. Sucks to see him go out in the game where he's playing that well. It kind of reminds me of he had that 30-point game in Milwaukee last year and then was out for multiple games. It always seems like whenever he starts playing really well, he ends up with a little injury here or there where he has to miss a little bit of time. So hopefully that's not the case here. Hopefully he's able to play tomorrow night.
Yeah, hopefully. Like we mentioned, he always seems to get that nagging injury right at the worst time. So hopefully it's not something that kept him out. And he was, I think it was probable heading into this game, but he's been bothered by a knee sprain or something.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully those two combined don't cause them to be cautious and sit him out. I mean, if they need to be cautious, it's fine. But with how many people we have out, we really need Nas, and we really need him to get minutes on the floor right now. So hopefully not.
Yep, agreed. Great game for Nas. We just talked about Nurkic. Nurkic had 20 points as well, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal, 8 for 18 from the field, 4 for 6 from the free throw line. Not the most efficient game from Nurkic, but I thought there was a few different plays where he probably got fouled inside that he didn't get a call on. I thought overall the energy he played with, the effort he played with, he had a solid defensive game in my opinion. Cat really didn't do anything against him. Cat ended up finishing with 17 points on 7 shots. So, it wasn't a situation where Cat was being Cat, and Nurkic defended him pretty well. Had a block in this game that they called a foul that Chauncey should have challenged because it was Nurkic's 5th foul.
Mm-hmm.
That could have changed the complexion of the game there, and maybe next time he'll believe Nurkic because he kind of owes him one. So a solid game for Nurkic, not the best shooting numbers, but outside of that, had a few good passes, good defensive game, good rebounding game. Put 20 on the board.
Yeah, and to be fair to him, I think 3 of his baskets were the shoot and get blocked and then get it back and then score variety. So it wasn't necessarily as bad as the 8 for 18, but yeah, I felt like he did a good job of he got I can't remember if it was the third or the fourth quarter, but one of those two quarters he got them into foul trouble really early. He got 5 fouls on Naz Reid. They just couldn't keep a body on him in the post without fouling, and I thought he was doing a good job of passing out a bit as well. And then only one turnover tonight, so that's nice to see four assists with one turnover. But yeah, that play, man. So I don't know if you caught this, but they flashed over to the bench right after the free throws, and I don't know if it was Scott Brooks, but one of the assistant coaches was up talking to Chauncey, and Chauncey, like, you could clearly say, like, no, that's 4. And the other coach was like, no, that's 5. Like, he held up 5. And so I think Chauncey thought that was his 4th foul, is what I took it as. And so that's
Still
just a huge, that's a huge, I know, but that's a huge mistake if he thought that was 4 to not have the bench let him know that was his 5th. And that's, because that could, I mean, Nurkic ends up playing the rest of the game and not fouling out, but like, he definitely was a little careless on a few plays where he probably should have been called for a 6th foul, and yeah, that could have been bad.
Yeah, agreed with that. Portland Too Fresh in chat says Torrey seems to like CJ more than Norm. That's the next two guys we're going to talk about. For some reason, IDK, how many years is going to take that Dame and CJ backcourt? Ain't going to win anything. I want to trade CJ and I want to trade Norm. So don't.
He doesn't want either, dude.
Yeah, I don't want either. I like CJ more than Norm because CJ's a better player. Just plain and simple, CJ's a better player. Norm doesn't. People say Norm's a good fit. Norm has not played good defense this year. Norm does not create for other players. He doesn't pass. People complain about CJ's defense and his passing or lack of passing. Norm is just as bad in terms of defense, in my opinion. He's been really lazy this year. And then in terms of passing the ball, the dude does not do well passing the ball. And here's a big deal for me with Norm. He supposedly is open to being somewhere else. I don't want a dude on this team that supposedly doesn't really care to be here. So, I'm kind of done with Norm, honestly. Like, it's his first game back. He's not going to necessarily, like, be, have all the rust knocked off first game back. I understand all that. And he goes 2 for 4 from 3. Okay, 2 for 6 from the field, has a couple turnovers, couple assists, like, whatever, right? This isn't based on this game at all. CJ's just a better player than him, and Norm is not the answer at the 2. Norm hasn't been a good defensive player. He's been lazy on that end this year.
Also had a play tonight where he turned the ball, or he shot a shot thinking he got fouled and stand there complaining while they threw it down to Ant, who was his guy, and yeah, all because he didn't get back on defense. So
if that was CJ, people would have eviscerated CJ if that was CJ. Absolutely. Imagine if that was... See, like, normal dude things, and I'm just like, wow, if that was CJ, people would be a lot louder right now, right? So then when I'm loud about it because other people aren't, then it's, oh, he hates Norm more than CJ. Honestly, I kind of do. I just, like, no, I don't hate Norm. I just... The dude doesn't want to be here. He does a lot more like lazy things on the court defensively and should be better defensively than CJ, but isn't. So yeah, I have an issue with Norm. But like stuff like that, crap like that, Eric, I can't stand.
Guys, CJ was hurt pretty much this entire year. Norm was starting at the 2. Like, I don't understand why you want to see him start at the 2. He was starting at the 2 before he went out.
And we were losing lots of games.
For like over a month. Yeah, and we had our worst stretch of the entire season.
Yeah, but no, it's just him playing that position. That's why our record is what it is. If we just played him at the 2, our record would be better. No, that doesn't make sense, man. Like, do you guys really forget that he started at the 2 because CJ was out for a while, right? And then CJ comes back and Norm is out, and we win some games. Now, some of that is Anthony Simons playing really well, so, it's not necessarily just because of that, but playing Norm at the 2 instead of CJ didn't fix anything. It didn't fix a single thing. Even when we still had Dame, when we didn't have Dame, and Anthony was playing well, like, it didn't make a difference, right? Norman Powell is not the solution at the 2 guard. I understand if you don't think Dame and CJ is a good fit. I'm not even going to argue that. But Norman Powell is not the answer at the two guard position for this team. He would be an answer for another team. He would be good in another situation, maybe somewhere he wants to actually play.
Congratulations, Charlie. You just thought you did something there, but that's exactly what we just frickin' said, man. We just said that, dude.
You guys are gonna piss off Eric. Yeah.
Tori and I both want Dame and Ant. That's our backcourt of the future. So please leave us with this crap about how we want CJ and like, you're never going to win crap with CJ. We are not saying that. Please get that through your freaking head.
It's frustrating because we say it like three times a stream. We say it 3 times a stream. We don't want CJ. We don't want Norm. Because we don't think Norm is the answer at the 2 guard doesn't mean that we think CJ is, or it doesn't mean that we want to keep CJ. It's, okay, pet peeve, all right, of mine, and I think of yours, Eric, is when we state an opinion, right? Because we just try and speak our mind. When we state an opinion and then somebody takes that opinion and tries to say that we're saying something that we're not. Mm-hmm. And it creates a false equivalency. Where we say, Norm isn't the answer at the shooting guard position for this team. Oh, that means you think CJ works on this team. When are you going to realize that he doesn't? What? We ain't arguing that. We don't feel that way. So, and it's like the same people that'll come in the stream and do that time and time again. So it gets annoying when it's the same people over and over again. So, yeah, I don't want CJ. I don't want Norm. I want to roll forward with Dame and Ant. I think Ant can be good enough defensively, but also you're going to get a lot for Norm and CJ, and hopefully you can put enough good defensive front court players on this team to kind of make up for Dame and Anthony Simons. Now, also, Dame hasn't been fully healthy in like 5 years. So I want to see if Dame returns next year, can he be an average to above average defender? Mm-hmm. Because I think there is a chance, because he hasn't been fully healthy since LaMarcus Aldridge left. That's how long it's been, basically. So, you know, I don't want CJ. I don't want Norm. Me thinking Norm is not the answer doesn't mean I want CJ on this team. I hate when people make false equivalencies about things we say. What if we say one thing that doesn't automatically mean something completely different?
And I just want to say this. I mean, I'm sorry for addressing the trolls. I really am. But like, Charlie, you come in here every time you're in here, you're nothing but a jerk, man. You say rude things. You're constantly whining about us. You're complaining about us. And then you're saying, y'all mad, man, so have a good night. Like, dude, you come in here and frickin' troll. So just, like, I mean, if you want to get a reaction, you got one. Congratulations. But don't then blame us like we're always just being a jerk to you or something. You're the one coming in here into our show being a jerk all the time. So get out of here and don't come back if you don't want to listen to us. But don't just come in here, be a jerk, and then try to react and say like we're the ones we're so rude to chat, like we never listen to other people's opinions, we never have a discussion with anyone about anything other than what we want to talk about, because we're constantly trying to interact with you guys, but you do not have a good interaction with us. No, dude, leave me with that, man. You know what you do.
Yeah,
you're talking crap every stream, man.
I mean, see, like, here's what sucks about. I love streaming and I love doing this. Okay, right. Here's what sucks about. Here's like a bad negative thing about being a streamer, right? Is we'll try and read chat.
Oh, you don't have to hide him. Man. Don't hide him.
I'm tired of dealing with them. I won't hide them, but I'm tired of dealing with them. I agree. And I think it's the same dude off Twitter that I was tired of dealing with on Twitter. You have these same people that come in and troll or are just complete jerks, right? But then when you finally call them out, right, you can ignore them. And then once you finally call them out, they act like they haven't done a thing. And they will sit here and like, why are you so mad? Why are you being so mean? And they'll play the victim card. And then people that don't know what they come in and do every single stream over and over and over again will be like, wow, this guy isn't saying anything bad right now. He seems like he's trying to be nice. It's like, dude, he's trying to be nice because he's getting called out. Because he does the same crap. He says the same stuff stream by stream by stream. So, you know, we ignore a lot of crap and don't address a lot of crap that we read, you know, on the internet, on stream, off stream, whatever. Okay? If Eric calls something out, it's legitimate. If I call something out, it's for legitimate reasons. All right? That's all I'm going to say on that. And we haven't even ranted. So we haven't even ranted a lot this year in terms of like people doing stuff in chat. But I know some people enjoy it and maybe kind of miss it. Not even gonna lie. So
No,
for the people,
most people like want us to just not interact at all, which is not what we want to do. We want to
some
interact
people
with you
like the
guys. We
drama.
want to have
dude.
discussions, but
Yeah, some people like the drama, man. Some people like the entertainment. Your rants are better than mine. They enjoy your rants better than mine. So you know, we needed to get a Brant rant in. But yeah, just don't come in and be a jerk, and then try and act like you don't come in and act like a jerk. Don't put words in our mouth. And if we say one thing, that doesn't automatically mean something completely different. All right, I get tired of that. Alex Wolf, no, we don't, man. No, we don't. Let's talk about. I talked a little bit about Norm. I was ranting about Norm. There's not really much to say from his game today. First game back, minutes restriction, comes off the bench.
I mean, I wasn't expecting much out of him. I won't hold this game against him at all. Like that's not. Yeah.
It's just I want him traded, man. I want him traded. I want him, and I want CJ, and I want Rocco traded. That's what I want. Norm is not the answer at the 3. Norm is not the answer at the 2. He doesn't give enough effort defensively. He doesn't seem like he wants to be here. In terms of some of his decision making, like he can shoot the ball, and he can attack the rim and finish a little bit. But I'm tired of him driving into multiple defenders under the rim until he has no shot of getting a shot up, and then he gets himself caught and turns the ball over. He had a turnover like that today. Like, where he's driving and you could see multiple defenders rotating to him, and he could just kick out to somebody who's open, and he just completely drives into them, then gets himself stuck. That drives me crazy.
Yeah. No Norm hate. It's not hate. It's just like he's probably our best trade asset because he's locked up for multiple years. I don't think he fits well in this team. Like Tori says, when you say that you are okay not being here, that to me indicates that you really don't want to be here. And we know there was issues with effort with multiple players on this team that weren't really addressed earlier in the season. And then what do you know? Those players that we thought were the problem go out of the game or, miss some time from COVID or injuries or whatever. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden the effort is way better and we don't have any of these problems and all that kind of stuff. And it's glaringly obvious if you watch the games who those problems were. And I'm not even saying like it's a bad thing or he's a bad player or anything like that, but he's definitely our best trade chip, our most tradable contract. It's not just an expiring contract. Whatever team gets him knows they have a long-term commitment for 4 more years after this one for him at a reasonable price. And I just think that that's a means to an end where we've seen over the last 3 weeks or so that we didn't really miss him on the floor. And to me, that says a lot. But yeah.
I think, honestly, if we played CJ Ellaby instead of him tonight, we win this game.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know if I can go that far, but it does kind of suck when if you're I mean, I know you got to play Norm and get him back in the flow of things and stuff. But like CJ Ellaby was playing hard at least when he was on the court.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what we need, man. Like, we just need guys that give better effort, man. We don't need a dude like trying to bait a foul, throwing it up and breaking it off the backboard, and then complaining and not running back. Like, I know Dame will try and bait some fouls and shoot a bad shot because of it, but in that situation, I rarely see him complaining and, like, not getting back on defense. He'll, like, get mad, and he'll hustle on defense. Same thing with CJ. Like, it's not a situation... We don't really have guys on this team who will give up on a play because they're complaining the previous play. Norm is, like, the main guy that'll do that, and that drives me crazy. I hate that. That's one of my pet peeves on the basketball court, is when people do that. Because you're not going to change the referee's mind. So there's, like, I'm down to complain if it's a dead ball, right? Because you might be able to sway them for a future call or whatnot. Maybe, right? So if it's a dead ball, sure, go ahead and complain. Get mad at the refs. Chauncey can yell at the refs, whatever, if he thinks they're doing a bad job, yada, yada. But when it sacrifices a following play and it compounds itself into you not hustling, that's just selfishness because you're letting your emotion and frustration get in the way of the team. And it's not a situation where you're going to change their mind, right? So you're sacrificing a future play for what? Nothing. It's stupid. That's why it's one of my biggest pet peeves. And that's something that he's done more than anybody all year. Okay? That's not Norman Powell hate. I wish he wouldn't do it. I wish I didn't have to criticize him about that. I'm going to criticize players when they do that, though, because I can't stand that type of stuff. That's how I feel on it.
Mm-hmm. And Purple Haze has a great point. Like, Nas is showing he's maybe the answer at the 3 moving forward. And, I mean, yeah, there's still time to figure that out. But, like, he's been really solid, really good, I think, at the 3. And, we've had some success with that. So I think Norm has enough interest from teams to warrant trading him. It's not necessarily that I don't want him on the team anymore. It's just I think we need to clear the spots for the guys who have been playing well over this last 3.5 weeks. And to do that, I think guys like Norm, CJ, Rocco need to be off the team. And I think you need to once again address what I said half an hour ago, is that we need some sort of athletic wing out of that. Whoever that is, we need to address that and add that to our team for next year. And we have too many guards. We have to get rid of at least 2 of them in my mind, and if we bring in another guard, it has to be one that's more of a backup type guard, and that will let Ant and Dame flourish when Dame's healthy. So I would just go. I would just trade them to clear out spots for some of these younger guys who are playing hard, and I would reward them for what they're doing. That's all I think. And for those that are bashing CJ and his defense and stuff, honestly, I was watching CJ a lot of this game. I tend to focus on like certain players off ball on defense and stuff. I didn't have a single play tonight where like I was like, oh man, CJ really screwed up on defense or whatever. Like I don't even remember him on defense like one play this game, right? And I was watching for him to screw up. Yeah. And I would challenge chat to also, like, do you remember a single play tonight where CJ like got beat off the dribble or messed up on defense or anything like that? He's been actually really solid since he came back. And I know it kind of comes and goes with him, but like I'm willing to give Norm a shot. I mean, like, he's just coming back. He's had a few weeks off, so like he's not probably completely ready to play in this game. But like for the most part, like I can sit here and name like 3 or 4 times where Norm messed up on defense tonight. I don't really remember many from CJ.
Yeah, I mean, CJ at the start of the year was playing actually above average defense, right? And then he started to struggle like the rest of the team defensively. He comes back, the team was playing better defense, and he's been solid defensively since coming back from injury. He also, doesn't have the potential distraction of his kid being on the way, right? So CJ's been fine defensively. It's like people will argue reputation instead of what's actually happening out there on the court, right? It's like CJ will perfectly play within the flow of the offense, just maybe miss some shots that he normally would maybe make, and people will yell at him for the way he's playing, right? And sure, he ISO'd a few times today. Almost every time he ISO'd, I could hear, because I watched the Minnesota broadcast where like the court audio was a little bit louder, I could hear Chauncey Billups yelling ISO when CJ had the ball in his hands, because there's a couple times they switched Naz Reid onto CJ, right?
And the shot clock's running down and stuff.
Yeah. So it's like, you can't blame CJ if his coach is yelling at him to ISO. And then for the most part, he's done a good job of not forcing things, not pounding the air out of the ball, playing within the flow of the offense since coming back. But because his reputation is that he doesn't, any time, it can happen once a game, people will see that one time and just rage about it or get mad about it. You know what I mean? Because they're so emotionally done with CJ or whatever, right? And they'll argue his reputation instead of what's actually happening. And that stuff gets annoying. that stuff gets frustrating for me because it's like, what is the dude supposed to do at this point in time? You're just arguing based on the same exact stuff as you were arguing this past offseason. You know, this dude could come in and play phenomenal defense, and I guarantee you the people that hate on CJ are not going to say, oh, he played really good defense this game, right? Because we'll have CJ haters in chat, certain guys that just can't stand CJ. I never once see them ever say, oh, CJ made a good play here, or CJ played good defense here, or CJ's playing within the flow of the offense. And that's just, you know, the way it is. It's called haters. So you have a lot of people like that in the chat, man, and it's like, dude, just focus on what he does each and every game. And he's probably going to be off the team in 2 weeks anyway. Hopefully, fingers crossed, right? I'm not saying that we should keep him because of all this. It's just like, I think he's done a good job since coming back, man. And he's still getting a ton of hate. And it just seems to be based on, like, there was no hate last game because he made some shots. I feel like he played the same exact way this game, just missed some solid shots, and he gets a bunch of hate. You know what I mean? So it's just based on whether or not he makes shots, in my opinion. That's kind of my feel on kind of the CJ narrative. It's frustrating. Anyway. Yeah, also don't tell us what to talk about. We don't take orders. Anyway. I'm going to start this Twitter space, Eric. I don't know if... Oh, Zach's here. Okay, cool. He can start it. So Zach just messaged me once you've started it. We'll get your calls. You can come rage at CJ to us through our Twitter space.
You can come tell me off in person.
Yeah. Let's hear you. I want to see somebody try. I don't think it would go too well for them. But, yeah, you know, we have started Twitter Space this month where you can call into the postgame show. So it's through a Twitter Space. So we'll have a link for you. We'll post it in chat in a second. And you can call in. You can give your thoughts. You can ask about a trade. All right? This is when we start the trade talk. Is when we start a Twitter space. A lot of people like to talk trades, and we'll take your questions. You can state your opinion on something, anything you want. Just don't cuss. Just keep it clean. That's all we ask. The space is now live, so you can go to our Blazers Uprise Twitter account to join the space, because Zach is hosting it on that Twitter account. Eric, I'm going to hop in there before I mute you on Skype, actually, because I am not in there yet. And, you know, we didn't do this last game. I don't think we did the game before either. So, going to be good to take some of your guys' calls again. Normally, we got pretty good calls. I'm waiting for somebody to come in, like, ranting, you know? I mean, Shervin did that one time, which was also a good call. I'm not trying to say it wasn't. That was very entertaining. So yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about my thoughts on CJ, potentially. Lots of different things to talk about in this one. So, let me get set up here. Eric, anything in chat you want to to reply on?
Can chat hear me, or do I not need to mute Skype yet?
You don't need to mute Skype yet.
Okay. Well, let's get to Carlton Pagano Jackson's $20 donation. But
I didn't even see that.
Allison said that she was going to call in and do a voice reveal tonight. So I see her in the space, so we might.
Voice reveal.
Anyways, $20 donation. Thank you, Carlton. It says, CJ has been playing great. No complaints here. I can see him continuing this role off the bench as a sixth man. Norm and Rook are out, as I can see. They don't want to be here, and it shows. We're still growing. I love our young guys. Yeah, I mean, I want to be fair to Norm. I think he deserves a chance to. We've heard CJ wants to come back and be, part of the team and fit in. I think Norm deserves that same respect while he's here. If he stops, if he doesn't do that, then that's one thing. Like, we can call that out. But, like, I think he deserves a few games to show that he's going to fit in, and, you know, if he's okay coming off the bench to help out, you know, our starting lineup and stuff like that, that's fine too. So yeah, I'm not gonna bash Norm too much off this one game. But, like, I hope that he has the same mindset as CJ, that he wants to be here and wants to play hard. But if not, yeah, he needs to go. With Rocco, man, I don't know. I see him it seems like he wants to be here. Like he seems passionate at times. I don't think he's been the right fit of what we need. We need more of a guy who's more of a an in your face type defender, and he's just more of a pick his spots and try to go for deflections type of defender. And I just don't think it's the right mix with the other pieces we have. So I think we just, like I said, we need to get a more athletic, rim running, in your face, like someone who can just switch off onto a quicker point guard and still keep him in front of him. Like Tori said, Rocco couldn't even keep Torian Prince, who's one of the slowest ball handlers in the league, off like away from getting past him. So like I just think that, man, it's just not a good fit with what we need from him and our power forward position. And I don't feel like him and Nurk ever really developed any kind of chemistry. I said that a lot at the beginning of the year, but having a guy who Nurk could throw for lobs or something along the baseline, or a little better 3-point shooter or something at the forward position would lead to more assists from Nurk as well. So I just that's why I don't think it's necessarily that they don't like playing for Portland or don't want to be here, but whatever.
Hey, hey guys, how's it going? Good. Hey, this is Michael. I'm on my alt tonight, so I'm the fella that called in last week. Hold on, I gotta mute my computer. Okay, who called in last week and brought you the questions of you choose between like 3 people, 4 people. So yes, I got some more for you guys. Are you ready? All right, sweet. All right. Well,
Sorry, you're muted.
I was muted on
all right.
YouTube. My bad.
Here's,
I'm unmuted.
here's
on
what I
YouTube
am
now.
genuinely curious about, like on your guys' opinion. So, would you say, like off the top of your head, you would know enough about this rookie class to put together like an all rookie second team?
Yeah. I mean, I pay attention to the NBA. I could probably give you some names. I'll probably forget somebody, but we're very familiar with the players in the league. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, assuming that Mobley, Barnes, Cunningham, and then Wagner and Giddey. I think those are like the 5 who are kind of like the consensus leading 5.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you guys have as the second team?
Ooh. You had Scotty Barnes on the first team, right?
Sorry?
You had Scotty Barnes on the first team, right?
It's Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes,
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham, Wagner, and Giddey.
Who? I mean, there's a lot of names that come to my head. I'd have to look up the rookie class. Eric, who would be like your next guy there?
Uh-oh.
Can Eric hear me?
Eric
having
left his
connection
space.
issues. Chat. Duarte. Jackson says Duarte. I agree with Duarte.
Yeah.
Herb Jones as well. I'd put in there just because of what he's done defensively. Herb Jones, Duarte, maybe Jalen Suggs. He missed some time, but Jalen Suggs might be up there. Let me look up the draft because this has been a pretty solid rookie class.
Yeah. Off the top of your head, those are really solid names.
Yeah, you could probably Cam Thomas might be in there, to be honest.
Okay.
He's had some moments off the bench. He's not the most efficient player yet, but he just had some big moments. I think you got to put Sengun in there.
Okay.
So Sengun for sure, Herb Jones for sure,
Duarte.
For sure. There's so many guys like around there that are kind of in the same boat. Chat, who would be your final 2 picks? Maybe Bones Highland could sneak in there. I would probably put him in there. He's had some good moments.
The 4 and 5 spot on this, 3, 4, and 5 for the second team is just like tough.
Yeah, Ayo Desumu, I'd put in there as well.
Yeah,
Ayo's been really solid. That would be my 5.
All right, awesome. Okay, now to the more fun ones.
Okay.
So, next season, one of these 3 players are going to be an all-star. Who do you choose between Chetty Osman, Matisse Thybulle, and Terrence Mann?
Oh man, Terrence Mann for sure. The other, Shetty's been solid this year. He's so far off though, and then Matisse Thybulle was just so bad offensively. He has pretty much no shot either. So Terrence Mann, actually, I could see him being one of those guys, and maybe in a couple years could sneak into a spot. I wouldn't count on it. It's very unlikely. I like how you throw random role players into this question. Terrence Mann would be my answer there. I think that's pretty easy.
All right, cool. And then the last one, Eric, your face looks wonderful tonight, by the way. You're sitting there and...
Yeah, I think he's having connection issues. Eric, are you here?
Gorgeous silence. I don't even know if you can hear my voice.
His stuff's glitching out, unfortunately, and let me see.
One of these 3 players are going to turn their career... one of these 3 players are going to turn their career around and make it to the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Who will it be? Marvin Bagley, Kobe White, or Larry Markkinen?
Oh man!
What's up, guys?
What's up, Allison? We weren't supposed to we weren't supposed to add you as speaker yet, but I'll talk to you next. Yeah, there's your voice reveal. That was a little bit early, but Kobe White probably would be my guess. Yeah, would probably be my answer for that.
Eric, how you feeling, man?
I don't think he can talk in here for whatever reason. He's here as a co-host, but he's having issues, so...
Sadness.
He doesn't have the Twitter app on his phone, so he can't just call in that way either. So, yeah. Yeah,
well, that's what I got for you guys tonight.
Thank you for the questions. Appreciate it.
Of course.
I'm going to try and get Eric... See if we can help Eric out here before we talk to Allison, and then Eric, just message me what's going on. I don't know what the issue is. We have to use a.
I can just tell you over Skype.
Yeah. What's up?
So it's doing that thing. I can't even connect without having that stat. Your mic sounds horrible. I heard Michael okay.
Does my mic sound really bad in the space?
Yeah, and then it won't let me do anything in terms of unmuting or...
Yeah, okay. What do you want to do then? I can't hear you now. You muted yourself on Skype.
I'll just listen to you answer the questions on YouTube.
Okay, you sure? I'll make them quick, I guess. We'll make this a quicker segment since for whatever reason we're gonna have to figure that out. That's unfortunate.
Hey, can you kick me though? Because I'm not even in there right now, and it says I'm in there.
Yeah, I don't know why it says you're in there. I don't even have an option to kick you, dude.
Can you kick me, Zach?
It says block Hoopsjock or report Hoopsjock. I don't think you want either of those, do you? Yeah, so it's been glitchy, and spaces are relatively, I don't know, they're glitchy on mobile too. But I would say maybe you still don't have the mobile Twitter app, Eric.
I don't have that option now.
I would say maybe you might. I don't know. I don't know if you don't want it.
It won't work though, because then the audio will come over the mic or whatever.
Well, you just mute. You just don't even hop into the space on your computer, and you just hop in on your phone, and then talk into the phone. That might be the workaround we have to do.
But how will I? Never, that won't work. Yeah.
We'll figure it out. I don't know. But let's talk to Allison. Then we'll talk to King Cuda, and then we'll wrap up the space. Apparently, my mic is bad in this space, so if you guys tune into our YouTube space, you can hear our answers that way. Having some glitches with this, unfortunately. So we'll talk to Allison and talk to King, and then we'll wrap things up. Allison had her great voice reveal. What's up, Allison?
What's up?
What you got?
So I have some fun questions for you,
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
The first one is, what was the worst decision made by this franchise in this last decade?
In the last decade. That's a good. There's a lot up there. Evan Turner's contract I hated, but I don't know if it really held them back from anything, so I wouldn't put up there. I feel like Zach Collins could have worked out, but obviously he was injured, and there were some really good players that they could have taken on 10, so that might be the answer. Raymond Felton was a little over a decade ago, so he doesn't, unfortunately, get included in this answer. Chat, let me know what you guys think as well. And then people say not trading CJ at the deadline is up there. That's not a decision. That's a lack of a decision. CJ's contract is not the worst decision this franchise has made. Come on, Ernesto. Yeah, honestly, probably, as much as I hate to say it, maybe the Zach Collins draft pick, but I don't even think that was necessarily as bad of a decision as some people make it out to be. You could have just gotten some like legitimate all-star level talent there, and we weren't able to do so. The worst decision might be passing on like a James Harden if he was available for CJ, or passing on a Paul George if he was available for CJ. So, yeah.
I totally agree. And my second question is, do you think we'll make the playoffs without Dame playing all year? And if so, what place would we be in?
I have a gut feeling we're making the play-in. Obviously, it depends on the trade deadline. Like, if we trade CJ to New Orleans, that would make us worse and also make them more likely to pass us. So if we make a trade with New Orleans, that definitely kind of changes the equation there. But gut feeling right now says 9th or 10th. And then if Dame returns for a play-in game, which isn't out of the question, then I could see us playing our way in. That's kind of my gut feeling at this point.
Great. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for calling in. Appreciate it. All right.
Hey, sorry, can you mute your mic in the Skype call?
Oh, yeah, sorry. There you go. My bad. Eric's hearing two of me, and he already doesn't like listening to one of me, so two of me is a little too much for him. Let's add King as our final speaker, and then we'll wrap up the Twitter space since Eric isn't able to talk, unfortunately.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's going on?
I would just like to go to the first question. I would definitely have Jemiah Robinson Earl in the rookie team. That guy's a gun.
Yeah, he's been playing well. See, I was thinking about putting him in there. It's tough. Who would you put him over that I had in my 5?
Yeah, I don't love Alperen Sengun. I just think he's just getting stats on an empty team.
Yeah, but couldn't you say
but
the
then
same
again,
about
so
JRE? It's Thunder and Rockets,
Yeah.
so they've put up similar stats. You could make the case though, for sure.
Yeah. All right, but my question is, if we keep CJ and get our draft pick at the end of this year, what do you think we could package both those for?
CJ plus our draft pick. Is that all you got? Because I want to answer this on stream with Eric. So if you got like another question before we get to that one.
Oh, no, that was just the one. I was just wondering because I really don't know CJ's value right now after coming off an injury. I just wanted to know what you're feeling.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to answer that in the stream with Eric so that he's able to give his thoughts on this one. We'll just start talking about trades. Appreciate it, King. Yeah, so...
Easy.
Yeah, thank you. That's going to wrap up the Twitter space then, and I'll answer his question on stream with Eric. That's probably going to be the easiest way to do things here. So, sorry you're having all these technical difficulties, Eric.
So, I could hear King Kuda fine, but anytime you talk, it just goes crazy. And I
yeah.
can't.
Yeah,
think
we
so,
I gotta figure that out. Maybe I'm tempted to try and uninstall and then reinstall the program. I think that might be the first thing to try there. Maybe it's something that I don't know, because it's cool talking to people, and I definitely don't want to stop doing that. We have to figure that technical difficulties out, because I hate if my mic's truly bugging out and I've heard it, like how you say it is. I want to be able to like talk to people normally and not have them listen to me talk to them as if I'm some staticky robot. That's not ideal. So we're gonna have to figure that out. But and then try and sort things out on your end. I don't know why it's glitching out like that, because it was fine the first 6-7 times we've done it. It wasn't having issues, so I don't know why all of a sudden it started having issues for both of us, which makes me think maybe we need to uninstall or update the program or something. I don't know. It's ridiculous that Twitter just doesn't let you call in on computer, right? So the issue we have, if anybody's new to how we set this up, okay, on computer, you're only able to listen to calls. You aren't able to talk in calls. You can only speak in calls on a mobile phone. The problem is, if I talk on a mobile phone, how am I going to get it on the stream? Eric, you could, because your audio would just come in like the callers do, if that makes sense. So that's why you could talk on the phone and you just mute yourself on Skype and whatnot, so it'd be fine on your end. That might be the workaround for you if we can fix out my audio. On my end, I can't stream the audio from my phone to the computer, obviously. So we have to download an Android emulator, and maybe we can look at a different mobile phone emulator to put on our computer. That's how we're able to talk through the space on our computer, is we basically get a program that's like a mock mobile phone that can use the Twitter mobile app, essentially. So that's how that all works. And it was fine for multiple streams, and now it's having trouble. So we'll try and sort that out before tomorrow. Remind me, Eric. We'll, maybe after the stream, I'll kind of try and brainstorm some things we can try, because we do have another game tomorrow. So the final question was a good one. If we kept our pick, what could we get with CJ plus our pick? So, assuming our pick's in the lottery, maybe let's say our pick's around 10th, and then let's say we get lucky and get into the top 4. Let's start off with CJ plus the 10th to 12th pick. What do you think that puts into play for us?
I don't think it really changes much other than what we're doing now, because I still think in that situation you're probably looking at teams that are rebuilding teams if they're interested in the draft pick more than CJ, so I don't know. I mean, there's teams like, Toronto, who I guess were on the verge of both, but would they really want CJ just to get the 10th pick or whatever for Siakam or whatever forward they decide to move on from? So I honestly, I feel like it'll be tougher, other than obviously if a Harden trade falls through for Philadelphia and they're left holding the bag and he either re-signs there, then obviously the 10th pick in Simmons or the 10th pick in CJ for Simmons is probably going to be one of their best offers available. But unfortunately for me, because with all the contract, right now you could trade him for an expiring contract or maybe a long-term contract, but during the summer it becomes only players that are under contract still. So if we're talking about sending him to Cleveland, then they could trade for him now, have a need for him now, don't have a need for him necessarily in the offseason, and then also lose a $17-18 million expiring contract in Ricky Rubio to help kind of match salaries for it. So then you're talking about Kevin Love for CJ type trades, or Tobias Harris for CJ type trades, because there aren't, in my opinion, a lot of players that make sense in his price range, or teams that could come up with enough money to trade for him even if they wanted to. So I think it's kind of tricky. I don't think his value changes much to the teams that would want him, because we would attach a pick, and I feel like the teams that we would have to attach a pick to him to get players for, it wouldn't really matter too much, a 10th to 12th pick anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that. Here's something I just realized. There's a lot of people that really want CJ traded, of course. A lot of those people really want Ben Simmons as well. if Ben Simmons is absolutely not getting traded at this year's trade deadline, it's a situation where those people who really want CJ gone might actually be hoping that we don't trade him at the deadline because they want Simmons so bad and he's not getting traded at the deadline. That's something funny that I just realized. So I don't know. I don't know if they're that desperate that they won't trade him for anything. There's some people out there like that, and I heavily disagree with that. But there's quite a few people that are pounding the CJ and assets for Ben Simmons drum, and if Philadelphia's really holding off on a Ben Simmons trade because they think they can get James Harden in the offseason for Ben Simmons in a sign-and-trade sort of situation, then, I mean, if we trade CJ, I don't know if we'll have an asset to give Philadelphia that makes sense for Ben Simmons in the offseason should that fall through. So that's something that's interesting for some people. And then, so what if we get like let's just say a third overall pick. Let's say we get lucky in the lottery and get the third overall pick. There's kind of a consensus top 3 right now that are all relatively similar. So let's just say we get the third pick with CJ. What could that potentially open up?
Man, I would be so mad if we got a top 3 pick and then traded it. Because I feel like any one of those 3 guys could make a huge difference, more than pretty much anyone we could get in that trade. And then I think, like, I don't know, honestly, guys like Siakam and stuff like that, I don't know if it's worth giving up the third pick for. So it becomes like a new territory of what team's giving up the best package. But then it's almost like, are they just taking CJ to take him, or are we better off? Because, like, a lot of players that I would want to trade the third pick for would be on a low enough salary where we wouldn't necessarily have to attach CJ either. So, I mean, I guess you would talk about like Jaylen Brown for CJ in the third pick. I mean, but I don't know if that's necessarily having CJ and like a Chet Holmgren. I don't think is worse than. I mean, I'd rather run with that than having a Jaylen Brown. I think, I don't know. But yeah, it's a tough situation.
Yeah. I mean, could get you in the door for Jaylen Brown, and then see that's the thing is we would, if we traded Rocco for our future first back from Chicago, then if we did CJ and the third overall pick for Jaylen Brown, we'd have other assets to try and go out and get a power forward. Like, we still have Norm, we'd still have all our future firsts. We'd still have Nassir Little, right? So you could potentially try and work your way into a Pascal Siakam trade. The problem is that the contracts are going to be very iffy in that situation. So I don't really know how that matches without CJ McCollum's $30 million trade chip. But, I mean, maybe you can figure out a way to trade for 2-year contracts at this year's deadline for maybe Nurkic or whatever. I don't know. It becomes iffy. But basically the point is you still have assets left over to go out and make a follow-up move after getting Jaylen Brown. Whereas if we don't get a top 3 or 4 pick in the offseason, if we're getting Jaylen Brown, we're probably not going to have any assets left over. So that is the difference there. A top 3 pick becomes such a better asset that you can save and not have to throw other stuff in, hopefully, if Jaylen Brown is kind of the route we want to take there. For Siakam, Siakam's been playing really good, so you'd have to consider it, I think, because of how well Siakam's been playing lately. But I like the top 3 players in this draft, and I feel like it could be a situation where we would look back and like, oh, we could have had Banchero when we traded the pick for Siakam, and then 2 years after Banchero was better.
Kind of like Rocco right now.
Yeah, kind of like we traded 2 picks for Rocco, and now it's like we're looking back on some of the guys we could have taken with those picks. Yeah, absolutely. So
we could have Sadiq Bey and Herbert Jones as our starting.
I mean, Herbert Jones was taken 35th. We could have weaseled our way there, I think.
No, I meant like because we gave up the 24th pick or something for in the Rocco trade too.
Yeah,
the 16th and then the 24th. Yeah,
I would have been hyped if we had a late first and took Herb Jones. A lot of people, I don't know. Like he was a projected second round pick, like middle of the second round, like 40s, and got selected at 35.
Mm-hmm.
I had a first round grade on him. I just dropped a video on him, spoiler, today, so definitely go watch it after the stream. But you know, Herb Jones would fix so many problems with this team, and he was taken with a second round pick last year. So Herb Jones is already better than Rocco. Already a better version of Rocco, Eric. Better defensively, better on the ball. He's shooting better than Rocco. He's a better passer, better ball handler, and he was taken in the second round. So, yeah, I mean, Sadiq Bey and Herb Jones instead of Rocco right now would be phenomenal. You know what I mean? So we can look back at trades and be like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. But that was obviously a GM that's not here anymore. It's a situation where we have to look forward and be like, okay, how can we fix some of those things? How can we make some of those things better? How can we kind of get back on track with where we need to go? And Olshey made, in 3 years, in 2 different drafts, in back-to-back drafts, Olshey got Anthony Simons, Gary Trent Jr., and Nassir Little. So he had a really good string drafting there.
Without a high pick.
So, you know, that's helped us for sure. I mean, look at the way Anthony Simons is playing, and look at how Nassir Little played tonight. You know, for all the heat that Olshey got, he drafted pretty well. Once he got into the 20s, 30s, 40s range, you know, he drafted Will Barton in the 40s, Pat Connaughton. You know, ignore the Caleb Swanigan pick because that was terrible. But beyond that, he's drafted really well. So, you know, imagine if he took Jacob Evans at 24 in the Simons draft. Imagine if you took Jacob Evans instead of Anthony Simons, because a lot of Blazer fans wanted that to happen. I'm getting a little sidetracked here. Basically, it's just, yeah, you know, you hit some and you miss on some moves. We have to try and figure out how to move forward. You know, we can sit here and look back on some guys that we missed out on, but at this point, we got to move forward and maybe get those guys via trade anyway.
Yeah, I think keeping CJ, like you said, keeps the Ben Simmons, if that's who your main goal is to get as the next, like, core piece.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps that open as long as he doesn't get traded to another team at the deadline. But short of that, I don't think there's that many things it opens up. Yeah, so, like, we couldn't... Let's say we somehow opened up, like, a $30 million either cap space or some sort of, like, trade exception or something close to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no... To me, having, like, a high first-round pick and, you know, 4 or 5 other picks in other drafts, too, and all our future first back as well, by trading CJ, Norm, Rocco, and just getting as many picks as you want, and having cap space or a trade exception, to me, you could go pick guys like Herb Jones, offer like 2 or 3 firsts if that's like someone you knew would take you over the top, right? Or go, like, I don't know who it is, but, like, let's just say you thought, I don't know, who's a good, like, young player that's still has, like, a lot of potential or something
that hasn't like panned out yet.
Maybe not to, like, the extent of he's a bust or something, but, like, who's pretty good but not, like, overwhelming.
I mean, if you say pretty good, then that rules out Darius Baisley.
Yeah,
because he's.
But I mean, like, wrong. I mean, you could easily get Baisley for like a first, probably, or something. You know, like, you could identify players like that and just go out and get them. You could, if you had a $20 million trade exception and you really thought Jeremy Grant was the answer, even if a team traded for Jeremy Grant this summer, you could this season, you could probably offer him like 3 firsts or something and be in a position to get him pretty easily. I just think there's so many things you could do.
I mean, the obvious answer for me to your question is Herb Jones.
Right.
You know?
Or maybe even like a guy like Patrick Williams, who Chicago's not even willing to trade apparently right now, but like you go offer him like the 7th pick and a couple of future firsts, and all of a sudden they can get, you know, some cheap first that they could use in other trades to address other things. They didn't really need him at all this year, and we're playing well without him. Like, maybe just guys like that, maybe you could find, or maybe you throw a first and get a Sadiq Bey out of Detroit because they really like someone and fell to 5th or something. So you trade back to 5th and pick up Sadiq Bey or something. There's just so many things you could do. That's why I'm just so in favor of having those assets. Because if I'm OKC right now, I think they have, enough cap under the luxury or under the salary cap line to go get pretty much any player in the league outside of, the Russell Westbrook and John Wall $40+ million contracts, right? And they have like 18 first round picks and stuff. So like they could go, I mean, they don't need like a veteran, but like, let's just say they called, I don't know, like what's like a middling team. Like let's just say they really wanted Julius Randle or something. Like they could call New York and be like, we'll give you 5 first round picks for Julius Randle, and New York's probably going to take that, right? And like, so like it just opens up so many more avenues to like do, and they could pretty much name whatever player, then offer 10 firsts for him, and it wouldn't even affect their future that much. That's so crazy. But like, and then you heard crazy stuff too. Like if you get lucky and we get like a top 3 pick, and a team like OKC doesn't, and their whole future is based on getting a top 3 pick. And we heard that they maybe even offered a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the number 1 pick last year to move up to number 1 with Detroit.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that is like, there's just so many things to open up when you have draft picks. It's not necessarily about having the draft picks, but I don't think we get to that position without trading CJ. And I don't think we necessarily have better options by keeping him. So I don't know. I think the answer is pretty clear to just trade him for what you can get asset-wise right now.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a couple things I want to respond to in chat. So, trade pick and CJ for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. There's no shot there's absolutely no shot OKC would even come close to taking that. They already have 1 million first-round picks, and why would they want CJ when they're on a rebuilding timeline? Doesn't make sense.
Unless we got the number 1 pick and they got like 7th, and they really wanted, like they were in love with Chet Holmgren or something as their future, and
yeah.
But like that doesn't make any sense for them to do that otherwise.
Yeah. If it's not a top 4 pick, there's no chance they do that. I was just thinking like a random future first. It just doesn't really make sense for them to trade Shai unless, we get a really high draft pick that they really, really want for whatever reason. As far as Dame trades, nope, we're never going to discuss them. Plain and simple. Got to be loyal to Dame. He's been loyal to us. And then, what was the other comment? Oh, Chris says, we've done so well with top 3 picks in the past. Well, those were different GMs. So we shouldn't shy away from the chance to potentially draft a future all-star, future superstar because in 2006 we passed up on Chris Paul for Martell Webster, or because we took Greg Oden that was 2005, yeah. And then in 2007 we took Greg Oden over Kevin Durant. That doesn't mean we should pass up on a top 3 pick 15 years later. That doesn't really make sense to me with a completely different organization. Like, what person is still in this organization in a decision-making capacity that was here 15 years ago? I mean, I guess Cronin's been here a while, but outside of that, completely different organization now. Let's see. I bet Chicago would give us our pick back for Nurkic if we take Vucevic because he has been cheeks for them. I don't think Chicago would do that.
And they don't even come close to matching salary-wise anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't really make sense.
Gray Hughes had a
donation. Oh yeah, that's what I was forgetting. I knew I was forgetting something. Sorry, Gray. I knew I was forgetting something. I was trying to find it. Gray Hughes investigates $5 dono. Appreciate you as always, Gray. You're the man. Says something people don't seem to believe in, but I do, is that effort and chemistry beats talent often. And, I mean, we've seen that the past couple of games. We've faced some lineups that are maybe more talented, and we've won because we've played with a high level of effort and we've played the right way, right? What wins championships is effort, chemistry, and talent. Okay? If you got talent out there that isn't giving proper amounts of effort, I don't care that he's more talented than the next guy. You got to get guys that play hard. You cannot have an issue. You cannot be a contending team and have issues with playing hard. Okay? The only issues contending teams have with playing hard is like oh, they're 30-7 and going up against a mediocre team and they've won like 8 in a row, and maybe they come out and have a dud for a half and it's tied, and then the second half they'll just blitz teams, right? They won't. What contending team has stretches like we do, where we lose multiple games in a row because of effort? I don't think there's really any teams like that. You know, they'll lose games, maybe they shoot bad or whatever. Most of the time it's not an effort issue, because you can't have a championship culture while you have effort issues. They don't coincide. So, appreciate the dono, Gray.
Yeah, thank you, Gray. Sorry it took so long to get to it.
Yeah. I don't know how long it's been there. I don't think it's been there too long. Yeah, anyway. My guy, Gray. All right. I'm going to put a trade up on the screen. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, we've addressed it several times, but do you think Atlanta would be interested in Norm, Larry Nance for John Collins?
No.
I don't think they'd be interested in much that we have to offer them, and also, I don't really necessarily think John Collins is the answer, really. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit higher on John Collins than Eric, but still, I'm not really enamored with him. And I saw somebody on Rip City Reddit apparently a couple weeks ago said, "Oh, that Tory guy's so annoying. He doesn't like any players." And I mean, I guess it could kind of sound like that. There's players I like. I mean, I just dropped a video on one of them, but mediocre defending power forwards I'm not really in favor of for this team. I want good defensive players. If you're going to go forward with a Dame at backcourt, which is what I want to do, you got to get good defensive front court players around them. So going out and shelling out a bunch of assets for Jeremy Grant, who hasn't been a good defensive player the past couple of years and wants to be the number one option on a bad team, is not a good idea to me, because it doesn't get us close enough to contention to be able to close the gap with the assets we'd have left over. So, you know, I'm sure to some people it sounds like, oh, this guy doesn't want Jeremy Grant. What in the world? He doesn't like any good players. You know, some people will think that, but hopefully that reasoning makes sense to some of you. I would rather do this trade. Let's just show off. Okay, so I put this trade together while making the video, Eric. Never got your thoughts on this. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like it. Because Falcons don't have to give up a pick. I think they would consider it.
Yeah.
It keeps them just barely under the luxury tax. So yeah, I think they would consider it. But if they want CJ, that's a big if. We've heard rumors that's true, but yeah, I don't think that's terrible value for them. I think it's a good trade for Chicago, and yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah, so this was actually maybe the happiest I've been with a 3-team trade idea in the past month. I've been trying to think up of a bunch of them, and a lot of trades involve New Orleans and Chicago, but I think this is kind of the package that makes the most sense for Portland, so or the most sense from all sides, to be honest. And it was based on the report today that the Pelicans have serious interest in CJ McCollum. They want a lead guard, and I dropped a video on why I like Herbert Jones, as this trade was in that video. And I don't really like Josh Hart if we still have 3 of our 4 guards. In this situation, I'd want to trade Norm after this and have Josh Gard be the third guard off the bench behind Dame and Ant, and I think he's kind of like perfect in that role. You stagger Dame and Ant, and then Josh Hart plays next to him, and then he can play some 3 in some small lineups, but he doesn't have to. You know, he just comes off the bench. Much better situation, in my opinion. And then Herbert Jones defensively is kind of what we need. And we get our first-round pick back, opening up future first, and we get a $20.8 million traded player exception in this trade, which could help us pull off some things in the future. So, for CJ and Rocco, I really like that deal. Josh Hart is not a power forward. That's just fanspo being weird with his position. Don't even worry about that. He would be basically
Herbert Jones is the center.
Yeah. Those positions are off. Herb Jones is a forward. Josh Hart is like a shooting guard, small forward type. So, like, you get a starting forward defensively, exactly what we need. I go over the reasons why I like Herbert Jones in that video. And then Josh Hart, perfect third guard in my opinion, and our first back for CJ and Rocco. I'd absolutely do that, and a TPE. And we duck the tax by a ton. Absolutely would do that trade. New Orleans gets their lead guard, gives up Josh Hart and Herb Jones. And then Satoransky has been horrible for them this year, expiring contract to match salary, and then Najee Marshall. And they get back CJ. Derrick Jones Jr. is out for another 6 to 8 weeks. He has a fractured finger, it was just reported today, so he has another injury to deal with because he was already dealing with a knee injury. So he's out for a while, but once he's back, he could kind of fill in Herbert Jones's role. And they get him with the TPE. We have to send Derrick Jones Jr. to a third team. We can't take him back if we trade Rocco to the Bulls because we can't require Derrick Jones Jr. We traded him in the past year. And then I think Rocco makes sense for the Bulls in that situation. They stay below the tax as well. So, yeah, this is kind of my favorite trade so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think you follow this up with getting at least the first, if not, a first, an early second, maybe even 2 firsts for Norm. And try to get the best package, whether that's to Cleveland for Rubio's expiring contract and some picks or whatever. But you try to get the best package through that. And then you add a future first to, or maybe even another pick in this draft. The extra salary. Yep. But we keep our trade exception from this. You're muted.
I am muted. Oh no, I've been muted for 30 seconds, I think. I don't know. I was typing. I had to say see ya to Gray because that's my guy. Yeah, it's a situation where, you go to Cleveland and you don't have to worry about the tax. You take on $2.3 million if you trade Norm for Rubio's expiring contract. But, if we shed $20 million in the trade I had up on the screen, we're going to be like $15 million below the tax. So we're not going to have to worry about that, right? And we maybe get a first-round pick, Houston's second-round pick Cleveland has, which is going to be between 31 and 33. So Cleveland has some picks that could make sense, and that's a perfect destination for Norm, in my opinion. He would make a lot of sense for them, and they're in a playoff run. So that's kind of the follow-up trade to that. Open up the third guard spot for Josh Hart. You get some picks back. After that, I would maybe try and turn Rubio into a couple mediocre second-round or a couple mediocre 2-year contracts, like Dirk Favors is a $10 million expiring next season. Dario Saric is like a $8 to $9 million expiring next season. And, maybe both those, OKC and Phoenix want off those contracts. So if you could somehow maybe finagle a 3-team trade where you take on both of those contracts and maybe get a couple second-round picks, and then next year you can use those contracts as expiring to match salary. Maybe that's something we could look at, or, maybe we chase some cap space. I don't know. You just have a lot of options. And basically every trade idea that I have is trying to increase Portland's options because they don't have a lot of options in straight up trades. They don't have a lot of options for CJ McCollum in order to upgrade the team. It's sort of a situation where you have to try and turn CJ McCollum into draft picks or young assets or whatever, and then try and flip those for something. Unless it's Herb Jones, who I really, really like. Herb Jones and Josh Hart is kind of the trade that makes the most sense. So, having draft picks instead of players increases your options. So that's why a lot of our trade ideas revolve around selling some guys, getting draft picks, and then trying to turn those future draft picks into something.
And most of the guys we want to sell are not necessarily even needed to win right now. So even if you don't want to tank, if you want to win, we were doing fine without some of these guys anyway.
Yeah.
We're actually doing pretty dang well, I thought.
Yeah. I mean, if we pulled off that trade and then traded Norm for Rubio, who's out for the year or whatever, I mean, you still have a starting lineup of Simons, Josh Hart, Nassir Little, Larry Nance Jr. once he's back, and Nurkic.
Herb Jones.
Oh, Herb Jones. What am I talking about?
Your key piece is not even starting, dude. What the heck,
I wasn't thinking. Yeah, you'd have Dame's not here. You'd have Simons, Hart, Nassir Little, Herb Jones, and Yusuf Nurkic. That's a good defensive starting 5. And you have some scoring ability there. So, I mean, that team could still win games. and could still win games. Hopefully they wouldn't win too many, because like imagine adding a top 3 draft pick to that deal. You know what I mean? Then if you have enough salary left on the books, then maybe you go out and you try and get a Jaylen Brown with like a top 3 draft pick if Jaylen Brown becomes available. And then you're looking at like Dame, Simons, Jaylen Brown, Herb Jones, a re-signed Yusuf Nurkic. That's basically kind of the dream here.
So Chris, he meant like a team like OKC would welcome paying a little extra for Rubio this year to get Favors' contract off their books next year. So that's the kind of trade he said he was trying to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know if that'll be an option. It might, like Tori said, there would be the option of chasing cap space. And the reason why that's important, because as we sit here, so this is something that I've been saying for a while, but Keith Smith had a more in-depth look at it today. As of right now, before the trades happen, so this is obviously subject to change, but he is only projecting 3 teams to even have cap space this offseason. And those 3 teams are Detroit, which can get to about $30 million or so. So almost enough for a max contract. Or I guess a rookie, if it was off a rookie deal, it would be about that. Orlando can get to about $25 million, and San Antonio can get to about $20 million. So that can, of course, change.
Wait, OKC isn't in there?
No, because OKC still has Kemba. They cut Kemba, and he's still owed like $30 million next year, and they have SGA's extension kicks in next year too.
Oh, SGA's extension kicks in. Okay, because I thought they had cap space like this trade deadline.
They do right now. They have cap space right now, but the SGA thing, and then with their projected how many picks they have and stuff, so that takes up some of their cap as well. So they can get, I think it's, they might be able to get to around like a little above the MLE, but it's probably going to be close enough to the MLE to where it won't make having cap space crucial. But so this is the key thing. Portland's never a player in free agency, right?
Uh-huh.
But if you're a good free agent that wants to play for a contender, and somehow Portland was able to open up about $20 million in cap space, which is logistically possible maybe if we traded CJ and Norm out and didn't bring in a lot of contracts for next year. So then we'd be talking about, and I know this free agency class isn't great, but we'd be talking about making offers that in the past it's been like, oh, hey, Kelly Oubre, would you like to sign for the tax mid-level exception or take $12 million with Charlotte? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we get in the door for free agents like that we wouldn't have been able to just because of how few teams would be options for them, and even limited options for contending teams or playoff teams. So I think then Dame starts recruiting players, say, look, I'm back to 100%. Let's go. Come join me, and we can offer $15 million instead of other teams offering 10 or whatever. Yeah. We could make something happen that way. So not a fan of planning for free agency. That's never something that I would build my team around, hoping that it would happen, but it would be a luxury or a bonus to that lineup, especially if we got like a Herb Jones where we know we have one of our starting forward spots locked up and we could just do everything we could. And even if we strike out in free agency, then there's teams that are going to try to make room to sign a free agent or something, and maybe we could take advantage by getting a player in that deal or as well. So yeah, there's options you can do, and you can fill out your depth if anything. And I just really like the option of freeing up as many avenues of getting better as possible and adding as many assets to help us get there as possible.
Yeah. If we have a $20.8 million traded player exception too, that would probably make it, that's probably the easiest way to try and create a sign and trade right? Where we don't even have to trade anybody back. We can sign and trade for a player, giving them up to 20 million. Now, if you sign and trade for a player, it does create a hard cap where your salary can't go past a certain number. Next year, that would be about approximately 145 million, if I recall correctly. So we couldn't have more salary than that. Our salary couldn't pass that number if we sign and trade for a player. So if like Simons, we have to try and figure that out with Simons' restricted free agency. He might get a bag. That would be kind of tricky, but that could be another option if we have a trade player exception and don't necessarily have cap space. Now, the one reason why we would potentially want 2-year contracts instead of like a Ricky Rubio contract, which is expiring this offseason, is we could get into some trouble. Like, let's say we made that trade, the trade that I popped up on the screen. I'll pop it up for like another 5 seconds in case you guys forgot. Say we made this trade, Eric, and say we were maybe looking at trying to get cap space. So we took on some expirings for Norm or whatever. It could be a situation where if we get like a top 3 pick or a top 4 pick and want to trade that pick for Jaylen Brown, we're not able to because we don't have the salary to match him and we don't have enough cap space to be able to fit his contract into it via trade, right? So that could be a situation where Portland might run into some trouble, is if they don't have enough contracts to match salary for a Jaylen Brown or maybe a Pascal Siakam, and therefore can't trade for those guys in the offseason. Right, that is where you could run into trouble chasing cap space. So that's why it would maybe make sense to trade a 1-year expiring contract in a Ricky Rubio for a couple 2-year contracts, a Saric and a Derek Favors or whatever, because then in the offseason, those guys only have 1 year left, and this applies to next year's trade deadline as well. They only have 1 year left, and they're like $19 million of salary that you could use to match in a trade where, if Boston's really enamored with like the 3rd overall pick and is willing to trade Jaylen Brown for the 3rd overall pick and maybe another asset or two, in that situation, they would be fine taking back the $19 million in expiring salary if they really want that draft pick. So that's why it might make sense to not chase cap space and go out and maybe try and get some 2-year contracts, especially from a team that might be chasing salary savings, tax savings, or want to create some cap space next year. So they might want an expiring contract over a guy that they have on the books for 2 years. Maybe that's a situation where you could also get a 2nd round pick or 2 out of them. So that's another thing to keep in mind, I think. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes back to the whole Whiteside deadline thing for me, where we both thought that was the best strategy, and then we lose Whiteside for nothing and don't have the money to replace him, because that's the worst scenario to be in my opinion, and that's something I wanted to address with chat. I'm sorry, I don't remember who specifically said this, but it was several people asking about Nurk and whether he'd leave or we should keep him or whatnot. So this is the conundrum. Like, if you don't trade Norm or Nurk or Rocco, you have to basically, in my mind, be like certain that they're re-signing. And so I kind of agree with you. It's either go all out for cap space or a huge trade exception, or don't go for it at all. You can't kind of go into both paths. So it would require you to like basically move everyone to do that. But like, I don't know, like, I guess there's a slight possibility you could work out a sign and trade like with Rocco or Nurk for Jaylen Brown or something, like, maybe you do something like that, but then it gets tricky because the draft's before the free agency, and then you get stuck into a situation like Chicago last year where they get a 2nd round pick taken away for tampering. But is that really a punishment, or was it worth it for them? So yeah,
I think it was worth it for them.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. It just gets really tricky. But to me, you have to know if Nurk's going to resign. To me, I think he's happy playing the last month plus. I think he's been happy. He's had a much bigger role. I don't see him pouting as much. I think he's having fun out there. So like, I think I'm pretty confident we can re-sign him if he stays past the trade deadline. The thing I could always get worried about, he's with Clutch, and I could see us thinking we're like coming to the table with a nice offer of like $15 million a year or something, and him being insulted by that and saying he's going to go look elsewhere, and then like I just mentioned, no other team has the cap space to sign him, so his like best offer is like 10 million mid-level exception from another team, and it's not even necessarily a bigger role that he would have had signing here for 15 million. So like, I think there's probably a situation where we could lose him anyway, but I just think you have to gauge that before. And if there's any chance you think he's gone or could pull something in the offseason, I think you got to move him, even with how well he's been playing lately. And I just don't think Rocco wants to be back here after this year, so I would trade him too. That's one of the reasons why I'm so I'm over it with him. But like, yeah, I just think you have to either know for sure you're getting something done, or you get what you can for those guys.
Yep, agree. We're just laying the groundwork so you guys can truly understand what's happening on trade deadline day. Like, if we're really active, I want it to be a situation where, like, if a trade goes down, you guys are able to identify the reasons why we made the trade right away and like what it would mean for the future. Of course, on trade deadline day, we'll be here to explain it. If we make a big trade before trade deadline day, we'll go live with the stream as soon as we possibly can. So, we'll explain it for you. I just feel like it's good to kind of lay the groundwork for people. I know that not a lot of other platforms really dive in this deep into it, so we're willing to. We're willing to kind of discuss the ins and outs of what goes on at the trade deadline, and we will do so on trade deadline day. So, we're taking down the days until then. How many days left, Eric? We need
It's 16.
16 days. 16 days until trade deadline day. It's only...
In 14 minutes, it'll be 15 days, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. So, what time do we normally go live?
I don't know. We always say like we're gonna go live at like 10, but then there was a trade in the morning and we just end up going live earlier. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and finish the graphics before we I always finish the graphics like the night before, the morning of, for the trade deadline stream.
Yeah, let's do it before.
I've already started working on like a couple concepts. Because we put together like a unique graphical presentation for every, trade deadline, draft, and free agency stream. If you've been around us for a while, you guys know that. If not, then if you haven't experienced one of those streams, then it's kind of the it's definitely a highlight of the year for the channel. So I'm gonna try and finish those in advance and actually get some sleep the night before instead of pulling an all-nighter, and maybe going live like 8 p.m. Pacific time.
8 a.m.?
Yeah.
You said 8 p.m.
8 a.m. Yes,
yeah.
8 a.m. Yeah, I'll get some sleep so that I can wake up to start streaming at 8 p.m.
I think we have a game that day too. I think
we have a game the night before.
Do we?
If I recall correctly, yeah. Because I think we played the Lakers the game before. Let me look.
Oh yeah, you're right. Lakers the night before. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a post-game show the night before. We will obviously talk trade stuff on that post-game show. Maybe not even cover the game. Depends. So
Zach and Jackson want a tankathon, by the way.
Do you guys want a tankathon? I can do a tankathon. So on that week, we're actually going to do Blazers Uprise Live on that Wednesday, if you're cool with that, Eric. Because the trade deadline stream will be on a Thursday. So we can do just basically a trade deadline preview stream, Blazers Uprise Live, the day before Wednesday. And then we'll obviously have a post-game show. We'll talk more, and then we'll have the trade deadline stream. So that'll be a ton of coverage, like the 24 hours before the trade deadline. If
Well, we'll see. We'll see if there's, because obviously we make big trades like every day that week or something. Like we might not have to have as much of a preview.
Yeah. I just, for picks against the spread, I wanted to do it on Wednesday, because we're not going to do Blazers Uprise Live that Thursday since we have the trade deadline stream. Yeah. So I wanted to get in, a picks against the spread. And then the week after that, the last day before the All-Star break is that Wednesday. So I think the day after that we'll do Wednesday instead of Thursday as well, because then we'll have the All-Star break, which will be like 8 days or whatever, if that makes sense. So next week we'll do it Thursday. This week, like tomorrow, there's like 10 games. On Thursday, there's only 2 games. For whatever reason, there hasn't been like any games on Thursday, so we haven't had like a jam-packed picks against the spread day in actually quite a while, which is kind of disappointing. But we've still just been doing it on Thursday. But yeah, we'll let you know what like our schedule is, and we'll update you on everything, of course. But yeah, if we make a big trade, just be, ready for us to go live. We'll tweet it out and everything. Follow the Twitter page. Link in description. Turn on notifications for that Twitter page.
While you're doing the tankathon thing, Tyler asked if not Nurk, who would you want as a realistic center for moving forward next year?
Yusuf Nurkic's brother or father.
What?
What?
His father?
Yeah, you see how big that dude is?
You want like a 400-pound 60-year-old?
Hell yeah, just park him in the paint. Yeah, just park him in the paint, man.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't really like looked at that, to be honest. There's really nobody like I heard that I've heard Valanciunas, right? Like since New Orleans wants CJ, maybe that's a guy we get back in a CJ trade and then we ship Nurkic elsewhere. That's something that I've heard. In case Nurkic doesn't want to re-sign. Which, I guess, if Nurkic doesn't want to resign or he's going to get, like, a bag, I guess I don't hate that.
I don't see why they would trade Valanciunas if they're trading for CJ.
Yeah, because they don't have a center to replace him. So that's kind of the deal, is... I don't know. That's what I've heard as a potential option, Eric. That's all I'll say on that. So, yeah. Other than that, is there any that come to your mind?
I mean, there's a few like a Claxton or someone mentioned Chris mentioned Mitchell Robinson in chat. Like those are free agents this offseason. Maybe you can pry one of those guys free. Mo Bamba's also a free agent, although he'll probably be restricted. So yeah, there's some young options, but my thing is, I mean, look at an Isaiah Hartenstein, what he's doing in LA this year, or a Omer Yurtseven in Miami this year. Like, to me, I would just go young and cheap and just try to get some centers like that. Get a good, post passing center and a like Yurtseven or Hartenstein both have some playmaking ability, or get a cheap young rim running big and just have the best of both worlds and just play those at different times to whatever your team needs.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to narrow down replacements for that reason. There's a lot of potential.
But yeah, like, I mean, you could find those guys late first, early second. I mean, Mitchell Robinson was a late first round pick.
I don't know why he fell. He was actually, wasn't he a second round pick? Wasn't he like 38th?
No, I think he went the pick after Simons.
No, that was Mo Wagner.
Okay, I think he went 2 after. It was somewhere right around Simons, I think. Yeah, you can look it up. I think it was.
I'm gonna look it up. Yeah.
But just another reason why getting, let's say we got a couple mid to late first round picks or something, or future firsts, you could locate one of the guys, like find one of those guys and then offer that future first or whatever. No, right after Trent was my guy Kyrie Thomas.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson went 36th right before Trent.
Oh, right before Trent, huh?
Yeah, 36th.
I thought he went
'cause
26 for some
it
reason.
went Wagner. Then didn't it go? What was that European dude that played for the Wizards for a minute and he got drafted. I forget who he got drafted by, but then they had to release him because he wanted to come over and they didn't want him to come over. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Sounds familiar, but
Wow, what's his name? I can't believe I'm blanking on his name, dude. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Chat, I want to see if you guys know his name. Anyway, let's do a lottery sim, and then we'll get back to this conversation.
It's not that draft, though.
Is it not that draft?
No.
Are you sure? I forget. I know Jacob Evans went like 28th, and I forget who went 27th.
26th was Shamit.
Oh yeah, Shamit was.
And then 27 was Time Lord Robert Williams.
Oh yeah.
He fell. He was supposed to be like a lottery pick.
Bro, yeah. People. Oh yeah, dude. I keep thinking like people.
But there's another one. There's another one. Add him to the list.
Yeah. There's another one. People really wanted. Before I reveal this, I'm just gonna go back to this, and then I'll go back to it when I start to reveal it. People really wanted Jacob Evans and Robert Williams over Anthony Simons. And when we drafted Anthony Simons, people were so pissed. Like, of course, O'Shea drafts another small guard. He did, we had a small forward who's ready to play and contribute right away in Jacob Evans. And the dude's never been good. And then people were pissed we didn't draft Robert Williams, which, like, Robert Williams is a solid role player. But aren't you guys glad we have Anthony Simons instead of Robert Williams right now?
I mean, Robert Williams is really good, but yeah, it was looking pretty iffy there at the beginning.
Yeah, would you trade Anthony Simons for Robert Williams?
No, not right now, but
Exactly.
I mean, they're both really good, yeah.
No, I mean, Robert Williams is really good, but Anthony Simons Robert Williams doesn't have the star potential Anthony Simons does.
But this is exactly my point. So we got, okay, so like Nurk was what, like the 19th pick or 16th pick or something? I think 16.
Yeah,
in his draft, because it was him and
16
Gary Harris.
And Gary Harris was 19th, and they got traded for Doug McDermott.
Yeah.
The Bulls traded them both for Doug McDermott, the 11th pick.
So we got starting center Robert Williams. We just said it's the 27th pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where did Claxton go?
The second round. And
second round.
When Claxton, people like were pretty confident that Claxton was going to be a role player, like a solid role player.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what's funny.
We just heard Mitchell Robinson went second round, right?
Actually, before we do the Tankathon sim, let's actually look at like the mock draft they have. Let's kind of see like some centers. I don't know anything about. I mean, Koloko could be solid right away.
So yeah, Claxton went the first pick of the second round in 2019.
Yeah.
We got Daniel Gafford. He was, do you know?
36.
Same draft, 38th overall.
38th, yeah. 38th, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, like...
I mixed up him and Mitchell Robinson.
Yeah. Let's see. Vucevic was a mid first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Who are some other centers?
I don't know.
I'm just going through like every starting. So Steven Adams was the 12th pick.
I'll look at the 2017 back. I mean,
DeAndre Jordan was a second round pick.
Jared Allen was the 22nd pick. Oh, it's Pasekniks, or however you say his name, was the 25th pick. It was 2017 though. I mean, even a Tony Bradley was 28th. Thomas Bryant was 42nd. He was solid and then got hurt a bunch. Hartenstein 43rd. Yeah. Yeah, you can find bigs in the draft, like late first, early second. You can find some serviceable bigs, some very serviceable bigs.
Yep, that's what, like, so yeah. Everyone says like, oh, you can't go young in Dame's timeline. Like, getting a young athletic big like usually is pretty easy.
Or you could get a pudgy big with the 41st overall pick. and then he turns into the MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's some interesting. What'd you say?
You're speaking of Jokic for those who.
Yeah, Jokic. But like, okay, so just looking at this year's draft, Mark Williams. It's projected 20th. I could see him maybe fall into like Robert Williams' range.
Yeah.
7 foot, averaging. This is per 36 stats. So per 36 college stats, averaging 5.5 blocks per 36, 17 points, 11 rebounds. Right, intriguing. Christian Coloco, 7'1", athletic, per 36, 5 blocks, 20 points per game, 11 rebounds. He doesn't shoot or anything, but 75% from the free throw line is pretty solid. You'll take that. His draft day is going to be 22 years old, but if you just want a big to come in and contribute right away, a dude that can finish, rebound, and block shots and is athletic and can maybe guard in space. I need to watch more of him, but idealistically,
like Herb Jones, that's the guy who will fall, probably 10 spots because of his draft age.
Exactly.
So you take advantage of that if that's what you're looking for, someone who can come in and help as a rotational big.
Yeah. Walker Kessler, maybe, as well. A guy that can block shots. He's averaging 6 blocks per 36 and a steal and a half. So, I need to do more research on this Kamagate guy. I don't even know if that's how you say his name. But
I recorded the UCLA Arizona game tonight. I'm looking forward to watching that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because there's several Arizona guys.
Yeah, there's no UCLA guys that I'm really looking at. But
there's one right there.
I mean, yeah, but I've seen Hawkes. I've watched a lot of Hawkes because UCLA made their run last year. Hawkes is interesting. I can see Hawkes being a role player. Like,
what about Juzang?
Juzang just isn't. He screams like good college scorer that doesn't score the same way in the NBA. Like, isn't a good enough shooter, isn't explosive enough, isn't a good enough ball handler. You know what I mean?
Dude, I guess this guy wasn't good defensively until the last 2 years, but I thought like the exact same things I think about him as Dylan Brooks.
Johnny,
like I thought he was going to be a little too slow, a little too like methodical to get his shot off in the NBA. But yeah,
I mean, but Dylan Brooks is a really good defender. I don't see Johnny Juzang being a really good defender.
But he wasn't necessarily thought of as a great defender in college. Is what I was saying. Yeah.
I mean, like if Johnny Juzang can become Dylan Brooks defensively, then you take him in the first round. Right. But like Dylan Brooks is still, I don't think, is a good offensive player. You know what I mean? So like if he can defend. I think Dylan Brooks is overrated. He's very inefficient offensively and kind of a chucker, in my opinion. Doesn't really make plays for others. So offensively, that's kind of what I see Juzang being. Probably a little bit worse, though. I might be being a little too harsh on Dylan Brooks, but, we could draft the... maybe not the next Caleb Swanigan, but like Caleb Swanigan 2.0. I think he wears 50, too. Because didn't Caleb Swanigan wear 50 in college? If I recall correctly.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think I think Trevion Williams wears 50. And he kind of reminds me of Caleb Swanigan. Build and skill set wise.
Pass a little bit.
Could pass a little bit, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, if you guys are looking for centers, Mark Williams, Christian Coloco, Walker Kessler. They all play on really good teams, so should be fun games to watch.
Where do they have Duran?
8th.
See, way up there, 8th, yeah.
They have us getting AJ Griffin, which I would love.
And yeah, he's shooting up boards. He's played so good lately.
They got Shaden Sharp in there, which I hope he's in the draft because that makes things better for us if we're like 9th, 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know how I feel about, like, this range. This, like, 10th through 15th range. I haven't watched enough of these guys. I don't know. Nobody, like, seems to...
I like Easton and Murray, but...
Yeah, Easton's...
I mean, I think Johnny Davis should go in the top 5, but
Yeah, Johnny Davis is definitely like 5th, 6th, 7th range for sure. And then Patrick Baldwin Jr. reminds me of Michael Porter Jr. Like,
yeah, I've said that.
yeah, just even the way they shoot, just the way they move. Like, the problem is he's playing on a bad team, so he's getting double teamed all the time. So it's kind of hard to evaluate him based on numbers. But he's shooting 32% from 3 and 37% from the field,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like he does anything else. So Patrick Baldwin Jr. is a guy who was like a couple years ago was looked at as maybe a potential like top 4 or 5 pick in the future, and he's dropped down. Same with Caleb Houston, who's now a projected 2nd round pick because he hasn't done well this year.
Not at all.
He just doesn't have the athleticism to separate. You know who else has fallen from grace? He's not supposed to be in this year's draft, but you know who else has fallen from grace?
Who?
Amani Bates. Did you see what his wingspan was?
He's
6'9". He has a 6'7" wingspan.
That can't be right.
I mean, that's what it's. You look at him; he has short arms. Like I could believe it. And then like athleticism numbers did not test well at all. So he was like, "Oh, he's going to be generational." Other people talked about him like that. Now I look at some mock drafts next year, and he's like projected like 20th. So
yeah.
Anyway, lottery sim. Portland's 9th. 20% chance top 4. Number 1% chance is 4.5. Let's simulate it and let's scroll up as usual. You got Boston. You got the Clippers pick will go to OKC. You got New York. You got Washington. 10th, Atlanta. Moment of truth for Portland. They're still 9th. We have not had luck in a while. It just illustrates, how much luck it'll take to actually move up from this spot. Let's continue to scroll up. New Orleans. Sacramento gets screwed. Typical. Indiana. Houston. Orlando. So Detroit finally got lucky. I keep doing it to the top 4 as if it's not. Yeah, I don't know. Orlando's 4th. San Antonio 3rd. Oklahoma City 2nd. Detroit number 1. If Detroit got number 1, I feel like they'd take Banchero. Banchero plus Cade would be interesting. OKC at number 2. I think would have to go Jabari.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see Jabari today?
Yeah, I saw that maybe.
You guys had a roughest game of the year, unfortunately, but not going to damage his draft stock, I don't think. Shout out Hyperprime, $5 dono. Says, this is random, but what do you guys think? But what do you guys think is stopping Nurkic from being as good as Jokic? I mean, he was drafted higher, yet Jokic is MVP. So why isn't Nurkic as good as Jokic here?
I mean, like pretty much every player was drafted higher than Jokic. But,
yeah.
I mean, Jokic is just unreal passing-wise. He's a little bit more mobile, which helps him out. He's not as clunky, but he's just got
ball handler,
unreal vision, and I mean, he's a better shooter.
Yeah,
he's a better
shoot off the
finisher.
dribble a little bit. Yeah,
I mean,
just skill set wise, he's leaps and bounds above Nurkic.
Yeah.
So
Dirk's more like an old school big that gets by because there's not a lot of bigs like that anymore.
Yeah.
But like Jokic is like the best of both worlds. Like he can post up, you can run an offense through him. Like
I was gonna say he's not old school or new school. You know what I mean? He's just an outlier. He's like a guy you make in 2K.
Yeah.
Pudgy, white, slow, big, that's just like maxed out on every skill. That's Jokic for you. So, anyway.
His vision, though, man, is unreal.
Yeah. Is he the best passer in the league, in your opinion?
I mean, it's close between him and there's several players like Luka, and I always put Chris Paul up there, especially the way he's making Biombo look like an all-pro or all-NBA right now. But
I would say it's easier for players to like get passing opportunities when they have a lot of quickness and can just kind of like blow by guys and draw guys and do whatever. Yeah. Which, not saying that Jokic can't, and Jokic, even if he doesn't beat his guy, still draws secondary guys. But I I'm most impressed by Jokic. I don't know that he's the best, but I think it's the most impressive. I think there's a difference there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
dude, he's averaging 14 rebounds a game this year. Jokic is 7.6 assists, 26 points per game.
I don't know if you ever see those those TPA charts that
Denver's.
Well, Denver's was terrible. It's like this huge clunk of players, and then it's like Jokic like way up here, and then the Sixers one was a little more spread out, but it was like most of them were clumped together. Thibault was high in defense, but horrible on offense, and then Embiid's like way off. Yeah.
I mean, that shows that like how much one player means in basketball. You know. Yeah, those are funny. We've had ones that look like that too, Eric, with Dame.
Yeah, although he's off to the side, but he's more towards the bottom.
Yeah, not so much high on defense, but yeah, so those graphs are funny to look at. Anyway, anything else you want to say for this post?
Yeah, I do want to, since Jeannot is patient and apologize for spamming, he wants to know if any of the offseason can be impacted by teams underperforming in the playoffs.
I mean, maybe Jazz become sellers if they like lose early. I don't know. If the Jazz lose early, they gotta shake some things up. I just don't know what they could do. You know what I mean? Like maybe Bogdanovich becomes available. Outside,
does he really change our future?
No. And then outside of that, there's really nobody I'm super interested in. I mean, I'd love Donovan Mitchell, but they ain't trading him. I love Rudy Gobert, but I don't think they're trading him. As far as the Celtics go, Jaylen Brown might become available. So if they struggle, then you're looking at possibly Jaylen Brown. Same thing.
Well, they don't even make the playoffs, possibly.
Yeah, exactly. And same thing for the Raptors with Pascal Siakam and maybe OG Anunoby. Like Pascal Siakam or OG Anunoby, because there might be a situation where maybe they keep Siakam and trade OG because he started off hot but has really struggled lately shooting from the field, and he struggled against us. So maybe OG becomes an option, if not maybe Pascal Siakam. And then the Warriors, if they got the 2 seed and lost in the first round to the Lakers or something, I don't see them blowing anything up. I don't see them trading Draymond. The only way I think that would affect us is maybe they're more willing to give up their young players for somebody to help them right away.
Yeah.
But that would be like Nurkic or Rocco, but they would be free agents at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Man. Dame, Ant, OG, Herb Jones.
Or Dame, Ant, Jaylen Brown, and Herb Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, just...
I don't think we need that much offense. I'd rather go for the defense there. I think if I could pick 2 players to put next to Dame and Ant, it would be those 2.
I feel like if Jaylen Brown had a little bit less responsibility offensively, he could be close to OG defensively.
Maybe.
I don't know. You can never have enough offensive talent that fits. You know what I mean? So if it's a guy that can do it all, you can fit in any situation. Yeah, OG's close. Yeah, I don't really have a preference. Just Jaylen Brown's a legitimate star. So I've always Dame gets a legitimate second all-star.
Yeah.
Is why I would probably lean that way, but I see why you would prefer OG.
And he's also, I think he makes 16 to 18 million or something. So if we created that trade exception that you got, and then he becomes available, and we got the 7th pick or something,
Yes, there you go.
There you go. Then
bang.
we have a Dame Ant, Josh Hart backcourt with OG, Herb Jones, Larry Nance front court, re-signed Nurkic, find a cheap center out there.
You haven't even said Nassir Little.
Nassir Little, man.
Yeah.
So Nas OG, and man, that's so nice. Herb Jones is our forward rotation, and man, ooh,
Yeah,
I
mean,
it.
Yeah. In this trade,
That
I think
seems so good.
Mm-hmm. And this trade, I think, is very reasonable. Like, this is very, very reasonable in my opinion. And then just get a good enough draft pick to use the TPE we get from this for OG, and you're just absolutely set. 2 moves, right? And we haven't even talked about what we would get back for Norman Powell.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
well, that's what I was saying. Like, we get him. Like, let's say we trade him to Cleveland for Rubio, and maybe it's just their pick, and it's like 20th or something. We get like a Mark Williams to be our backup center.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
Or maybe you have to throw it into the trade for OG, but that's fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You do that, and then we still have all our future firsts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the situation. Is like we go from having like a questionable amount of assets and kind of a weird roster construction to just set and just loaded with assets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, and it seems like so like how does that even happen that quickly? But I mean, that's how it can happen in the NBA.
Yeah.
Chris says if the Pels want CJ, well, that's the report, is that they really want CJ. So that's the Jake Fisher report right now. They want a lead guard, and they gave up a first round pick for Devontae Graham, so they're obviously desperate for a lead guard.
Didn't you, Macwell? Or do you not like that?
I don't know how you could say no to that.
Yeah, I mean, like, people say, like, I mean, it's a fair question. It's a fair question. If Dame and CJ didn't work, why do we think Dame and Ant will work? And the answer is, you build the roster around them better than you did with Dame and CJ, with more athletic defensive players, and this is exactly why we say that. So
I mean, we got to the Western Conference Finals with Maurice Harkless, Al-Farouq Aminu, and Enes Kanter as our starting front court next to Dame and CJ.
Yeah.
And then we had sizable leads in the Western Conference Finals and just choked them with terrible game planning. I mean, we ran drop on Steph Curry in game 1. We got blown out that game, but we ran freaking drop on him. Then we adjust and have some sizable leads, and then, you know what I mean? With a lineup that was very, very questionable. It's like, oh my goodness, Rodney Hood and Zach Collins are saviors. We're talking about Rodney Hood and Zach Collins. You get Herb Jones and OG Anunoby and Nassir Little coming into his own, and Larry Nance Jr. off the bench, and Nurkic. I mean, that's better than the team. So much better than the team that made the Western Conference Finals and was playing Myers Leonard and Evan Turner, and yeah. And then I think Ant can be better than CJ long term, and I think he can be a better fit, a little bit better defender next to Dame long term. And then Dame would hopefully be healthier than he ever was without LaMarcus Aldridge. You know what I mean? So that's the idea. That's the hope. That's the fingers crossed. Like, this trade just sets up so much for us. And we get a $28.8 million TP, and that works for OG. I mean, that's the perfect target for that, you know? And if not, then we can try, and we still have enough assets to try and get maybe a Jaylen Brown or whatever. So
it still works for like a Jeremy Grant or someone too.
I just imagine, like, I think you could use Herb Jones in a bit of a Draymond role. Like, Herb Jones can pass, and I think will improve as a passer. I mean, Draymond wasn't really much of a passer his first couple years in the league. So I just think, like, imagine Dame and Ant playing off, like, Herb Jones if he can succeed in, like, a Draymond role. And then you have OG or Jaylen Brown or whatever, and then you have Nurkic. I mean, that's... Offensively, I think that team would be top 5. Could be top 2 or 3. Defensively, I think that team would be good enough.
Yeah.
Oh, Cronin, please. Please, I beg you. I don't know why I'm looking up. He's not up there. I beg you to do something good. Do something like this. Don't trade 3 first-round freaking draft picks for Jeremy freaking Grant, and that's your all-in move. For a guy that doesn't want to be here, only wants to be a number 1 option on a bad team. Yeah, so. Anyway, anything else for the stream, Eric?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Appreciate all of you. Sorry to those I got a little chippy at, but it's just frustrating sometimes. And but thanks for watching.
I don't even think the person you got chippy at deserves your apology.
Yeah.
So, yeah, people. I wonder how many people here were even here for that, because this has been a long live stream. We'll be live again tomorrow with another post-game stream. We'll try and make that go a little bit shorter. We'll try and figure out the Twitter space. And, yeah, we'll have you covered with trade deadline stuff. So, yeah, tomorrow post-game stream, Thursday, Blazers Uprise Live, Friday post-game stream. So a stream every day for the rest of the week. Hopefully you enjoy. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Thank you for making us a part of your Tuesday night and technically Wednesday morning. If there's a trade that goes down anytime, be ready for a live stream. I'll start saying that on every stream. If you see a Woj bomb involving Portland, tune into Blazers Uprise.
We didn't talk about the Woj bomb involving Portland tonight.
Oh, Cody Zeller. Poor Cody Zeller. Get better soon.
Yep.
There. There it is. And who knows if he's even on the team and past the deadline. I don't know, with the position we're in. Anyway, so there, we talked about the Woj bomb, the first Woj bomb of trade deadline season. Good old Cody Zeller. Anyway, that's a wrap for the stream. I hope you have a good rest of your night. If you haven't watched that video I dropped earlier today, and definitely go check it out right after we sign off here. So until whenever I catch you next, hope life is good. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.